Please don't take off my mask, revealing dark. Moments of calm, nothing left to be found. A mirror right in front of me, that's where I found an empty glass, reflecting that's a truth. It's telling words not to be told. I need that mask. I'm a shapeshifter, masquerade, heart in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, chained down to my core. Please don't take off my mask, my place to hide. I can't tell you how to see me, just a cage of bones, there's nothing inside. Will it always be burning down the walls? Is there a way for me to break? I'm a shapeshifter, masquerade, hide in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter, have no face to show. Please don't take off my mask, my disguise.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the live stream. 10,000 subscriber milestone. Sound off in the comments. Whoever's here, I want to see everybody's names pop up. I'm already seeing that a couple of you are in here, so Thunderstrike, glad to see ya. A+, glad to see ya. Darren, glad to see ya. You guys did this. Like, I just put out content, you guys had to actually come and watch it, so 10,000 subs, I can't believe that I finally did this. I've got, basically on this live stream, I've got normal latency, so there may be a little bit of a delay between when I'm talking and when you're hearing me, and when I'm able to see your stuff. Hello, Fenneke. Hello, Teddy. But I'll be just interacting with you guys. So we're gonna be doing a Q&A today, and I've collected a whole bunch of stuff from both Twitter as well as YouTube comments. And Patreon, and so I'm just going to be going through those questions, and as you guys have questions in chat, or if you have follow-up questions and things like that, feel free to ask me. If I'm able to answer them, I'm going to. I see that Gaze is here as well. Ichigo Goro, you're here. How's it going, everybody? It's good to see you guys. It's good to see you. Falling Snow, welcome. But yeah. I've got my dog in my lap right now. He's just chilling. I'm gonna pull him up. He's very comfy, so he's gonna be upset with me for doing this, but say hello, Winston. Say hello. And my cats are running around chasing each other. Maybe you'll get to see them at some point during the live stream as well, but this guy always likes to sit in my lap, so that's what he gets. You're right, Thunderstrike, I do need to give myself some credit, but honestly, like, all of the gratitude and why I'm doing this is because all of you. And like the people who are here are probably just some of my biggest proponents. Some of the people who have been there for probably a long time. You watch through all of my series, and you know, I couldn't ask for more, right? So I really am appreciative for everything that you guys did, and you know, I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy that we're growing. And honestly, since I started taking off with Blue Lions, I've basically been growing ever since. So it may not be the fastest growth, right? Like doing Let's Plays, it's not really the sort of thing that goes viral. So my growth is always going to be slow, but the thing is that I've always been growing, and it's thanks to people like you that that's possible. So I really do appreciate it, and you know, when it comes down to it, I'm just doing my hobby and putting it up online. Like, I have a day job. This is sort of just a supplementary hobby that I do, and all of you turning out makes me see that, you know, like, people actually care about what I'm putting out there, and that means a lot to me, so. Welcome, Ray. I see that you're in here. I'm glad you could make it. All right, so maybe what we'll do is we'll start getting into the questions. And, you know, I don't do these live streams very often. The funny thing is that at my day job, I actually do a lot of live streams for live performances. But for the most part, for YouTube stuff, I don't do that many live streams. So just know that as the person that's in front of the camera, as well as the person running the live stream and trying to look at chat, just know that I may be a little bit slow to see your questions in chat. But go ahead and, like, if I miss it for some reason, you can go ahead and add it into chat again, because I'm going to be going through a list of questions that we're going to be seeing here. So, yeah. Well, yeah, everybody's saying real nice things in the comments, and I love it. To me and to Winston. Winston deserves all the praise. He's here getting his head pats. But, alright. So, I'm going to go ahead and move over to my desktop here. And I've got a whole bunch of questions here. Let me know if there's any kind of audio problems or anything like that with the live stream. Also, let me know if the music is too dominant. I have it really low in my mix, but you never know what it's like on the other end for people. So if there are any issues, please do let me know, and we're just going to kind of go through some of these questions. So on YouTube, the names on comments are sometimes different than your username. So sometimes your @ and your username are two different things. So if you see this up here and you're like, wait, that's not the name I was expecting to see up here, just know that I had to copy and paste it from YouTube's comments section, and this is how they show up. So like, I know that Pado is Pado Kudo, who is also one of my subscribers, who is one of my members on, I can't remember if it's YouTube or Patreon, it's one of the two. But yeah, thank you for writing in, and we're gonna start with some questions right here. So, Pado says, congratulations on the 10K subs, Mr. Vernacular. Here are some questions. So I think we're going to start right here. You've said a few times that you're a teacher. What subject do you teach? So for those of you who don't know, I am an adjunct, I'm not even an adjunct anymore. I used to be an adjunct instructor. Now I am an assistant professor at a university, and I am what's called a clinical professor, which basically just means that I don't have my master's degree, but because I have a specialty, I'm able to teach as if I did have a master's degree. So it's kind of a different delineation than a standard assistant professor or professorship. They put that clinical on there to say that I actually have a lower level of schooling, but because of what I'm teaching and my specialty in that, I'm able to teach the subject. But what I do is I'm a high service load assistant professor, which means that my teaching load is relatively low, but my service to the department is really, really high. And what that means is that basically what I teach, I'll start with what I teach. I teach audio and video editing. So, and I also work in a theater. And in that theater, I, film and archive and do audio and video stuff for all of our shows in that theater. I live stream them. I'm the live stream director for those. So there's a bunch of different things that I do. And then when I'm teaching, I'm usually teaching freshmen. And the freshmen, I'm teaching them how to do some basic audio editing and video editing that they can use in their careers. I teach at a fine arts department. And in that department, audio and video editing is important for them. They're dance performers, and so they need to be able to create their own audition reels. They need to be able to engage in something that we refer to in the field as screen dance, which is basically dance for film. And so that's a lot of the things that I do, is I give them the basic skills to do that stuff, as well as to mix audio for performances that they might want to choreograph in the future. So I work with dancers, although I'm a terrible dancer myself, don't ask me to try, and I archive dance on stage, I live stream shows, and I do a lot of audio mixing and things like that. So that's what I do. But yeah, I really do like the audio and video editing portion of it. That's always been a passion of mine, is video editing, so the fact that I get to teach that is really, really fun, and keeps me motivated, because, jobs aren't always the most fun thing in the world, right? But I consider myself lucky that I'm able to do this as kind of like a side job, sort of side content that I do, and then in my day job, I get to do some pretty exciting things too. I direct... Let's see, how many shows do I direct live streaming for our stage performances? Each semester, it's probably around 30 different performances. It's usually about 5 or 6 individual shows with 30 complete performances about. But yeah. And yeah, so Thunderstrike, he says mixing audio is hard. You can spend hours doing it, and that's absolutely true. And my schooling is in film and media arts, so I'm more of a video guy than I am an audio guy. But the audio stuff, I definitely had to sit down and learn that one, and that one took me a lot longer. It took me a lot longer to get comfortable with audio editing than it did with video editing. Because audio, there are some visual tools like the waveform and stuff, but video is obviously way more of a visual medium, and that made it easier for me. So yeah, that's funny. Let's see, I'm just making sure that there aren't any follow-up questions in chat. Let's see. So hey V, this isn't really a question, but just want to say thank you so much for everything you do for us, and thank you for the entertainment you provide. Thank you, Pizza Ranch, that's very kind of you to say. Thank you very much. And if I do miss a question, which is totally possible, you can add it into the chat again. Our chat isn't moving too fast for us to do that. So let's move on to the next one. What's your favorite game and your favorite game franchise? That's always a really, really tough question. So I think some of my favorite franchises are going to be pretty obvious if you've been paying attention to my channel at all. Persona, Fire Emblem, and Final Fantasy are kind of like top 3 for me. When it comes to franchises, those games are top tier. For favorite games, that one's really, really tough. If I had to pick one, it'd probably be Final Fantasy VII, just because that game is so meaningful to me. It's a huge part of why I even do any of this and why I play video games. Final Fantasy VII is what started the passion, so in a lot of ways, A lot of what I love about video games comes from my love of Final Fantasy VII, and then that just blossomed into everything else that you see here on the channel. And, you know, I only play the games that I really, really like, so you just have to look at my channel and see what types of things I am playing to know what types of genres I like and what kind of franchises I tend to gravitate towards. But Fire Emblem, Zelda's another one. Zelda's another one that's a really top tier franchise for me, but, you know, the Atlas games are really, really popular, and one that I really like, so yeah. Yeah, Raymoto just said, oh, I was expecting Zelda was one of them. You're gonna see me say that in just a minute. Like I said, you guys are just a little bit behind me. So during P3P, Raymoto says, during P3P you used a bit of German, and in it I think you said you used to speak German. How long ago did you learn it, and any advice? Because I'm currently learning Deutsch. So I basically took classes in high school, and I took 2 semesters in college. I've forgotten more than I remember, and I was never fluent. So I have no advice for you other than you have to use it, or you will lose it like me. Ich kann ein bisschen Deutsch, aber ich bin nicht so gut. And if anybody speaks German, you know that that probably sounded terrible, and probably had terrible grammar as well. So yeah, that's what it is. What do you think of Final Fantasy VI? That was my first Final Fantasy game that I played. 6 is great. That's one that I probably want to get to on the channel at some point. 6 is great. I actually played 7, 8, 9, and I think even like up to 13 before I ever played 6. But when I did play 6, I really, really enjoyed it. So it's a really, really good game. Okay. So I'm going to move on to this next question. Do you like to consume any other media besides video games, animes, books, comics, things like that? All of the above. I'm literally just like a consummate consumer, and I all of those things. So basically, if it's artistic, if it's storytelling, I'm interested in it. So I engage in everything. Like even at work, like I'm engaged with the world of dance, and that's not something that I can do myself, but I greatly respect the art form. So like, it comes down to everything. When it comes to media, yeah, I play a lot of video games, obviously here. When it comes to anime, I think there's a question about what some of my favorite anime is, so I'll maybe hold off on that. But I watch plenty of anime and other TV shows and things like that. When it comes to books, I read a lot of fantasy books. I am almost done with the Wheel of Time series. I'm on the last book. There's 14 books, 15 if you include a prequel book. And I'm on the last book of that, and it's a really, really good series. The TV show that is currently coming out on Amazon isn't quite as good. In fact, it's disappointing in a lot of ways. It's fine. I don't think that it's a terrible show. It's just when you compare it to the books, it doesn't even hold a candle. But I really like the Wheel of Time series, and I'm almost done finishing the final book in that. Gaze says, honestly, the German was way better than some people that claim to be good to be in English where I'm from. Well, that's good to hear, I guess. But yeah, I've forgotten so much German, it's ridiculous. So don't ask me to say anything intelligent. Let's see, just making sure there's no other questions in between these. All right. When it comes to comics, I don't read a ton of comics. It's actually kind of hard for me to get into comics. So I've read all of the Invincible series, and most of what I've read other than that is different stories in the Spider-Man sets of comics and Batman. Those tend to be my favorites. Batman and Spider-Man were part of my childhood big time. The 90s Batman series and Spider-Man series was basically my childhood. Watched them all the time, and so I was always in love with those two superheroes, and those are basically the only like superhero comics that I really got into. I've read a couple manga. I actually have basically all of the compendium of Berserk, but I don't read a ton of comics and manga in general, so that's not an area that I have a lot of experience in. But if I had more time and more money, I would probably invest in it more, but some of those comic runs are so large and so vast that it's hard to know where to start a lot of the times. So I tend to just like pick up certain compendiums, like full collections, when it sounds like something that I'd be interested in. So that's kind of how I do comics. Let's see, you seem to be an animal lover. How many pets have you had, and how many do you have nowadays? Had in total, I don't know. I've always had pets. Literally always. Basically every moment of my life, as a family or as a person, just myself, I've always had pets. There was a short time during college that I didn't have pets because I couldn't, where I was living. But as soon as I moved into an apartment, which I actively sought out, an apartment where I could have a pet, I got Winston immediately. So I've had Winston for, let's see, he is estimated, I got him from a rescue, so he's estimated to be around 11 years old at this point, 10 or 11. And I've had him for probably 8 of those years, I think. So I've had him for about 8 years. And yeah. So, and I have 2 other pets right now. I have 2 cats. So Link, Cloud, and Winston. Link and Cloud are the cats, and Winston is the pug, who's currently right here in my lap. Yeah, hi buddy. He's looking at me like, what are you doing? Put me back down, I was comfy. All right, I'm gonna check for questions here. Quick question to the chat. Okay, maybe this isn't for me, Ray. What series did you start watching from Analog? Hey, that is a good question. I'm interested in that, so yeah, answer Ray. Started with the Blue Lions playthrough, that's a common one. Still one of my biggest series right now. The funny thing is that Blue Lions was a huge series for me for the longest time. And it was #1 for just ever, since that series came out forever. And then it wasn't until, weirdly enough, Morrowind overtook it, which surprised me, because I love that game. Morrowind is such a classic for me, and I thought when I did that playthrough, I just wanted to play it because I wanted to play it. I thought nobody would be interested in watching it, but now it became my #1 series for a while, and now Baldur's Gate 3 is actually my #1 series. So, but yeah, Blue Lions is still going strong. It's still in my top 10. I think it's like #4 right now. But yeah, it's crazy. Persona 5 Royal is another one. Got the Persona music going on in the background right now because it's so damn good. But yeah, Persona 5 Royal is another big grower for the channel. So, but yeah. And there we go, A+ for Morrowind. Yeah, I never expected that to be a big series on my channel. Never. Like, I thought nobody would ever find it, nobody would care, the people who were already on the channel wouldn't care. But no, it's huge, so that's awesome. Let's see. So yeah, I've always had pets, so I couldn't count how many I've had in my entire life, but lots of dogs, many cats, but yeah, it's been largely dogs for the most part. But hey, I've got 2 cats and 1 dog right now, so. Do you intend to bring playthroughs of older games from the Fire Emblem franchise, like the GBA and Nintendo DS ones? Yes, eventually. I think the top of my list right now that I want to do is the Path of Radiance and Radiant Dawn duology. I really want to play those on channel, and those ones are GameCube and Wii, respectively, right? But those are the ones that I want to do out of the old ones. Fates is on the bottom of my list because I think Fates has terrible writing, but you know, it is what it is. And I've already played some of my favorites like Awakening and Echoes, some of those older ones. Older, it hasn't been that long, but some of those ones are already on the channel. I did start a Sacred Stones, but I ended up having to drop it because a whole bunch of games that I needed to play that were newer came out, and I want to return to it someday, but I'm always a little bit nervous to promise people anything like that because my schedule is so crazy and so heavy already that like I don't want to start making promises I can't keep. But it is something that I want to do, so there's that. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, cool. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is one that I wish more people were watching. That one is not one of my biggest growers, but it's one of my favorite series. One of my favorite Let's Plays that I've done on the channel. So if you haven't checked that out, anybody who's here, go and check it out because I loved that game, and I put many hours into that game, as some of you may already know. And yeah, Echoes is one of my favorites. I love Echoes, the art style, what they did to update the mechanics and you know, modernize the story and stuff. Echoes is such a great Fire Emblem game. I love it to death. Let's see. As for a playthrough of Marvel's Spider-Man, and Oh, you're asking if I'm going to do a Marvel Spider-Man from 2018. I know you've already played it, but I would watch another series getting the platinum in a Spidey game. I kind of wanted to before Spider-Man 2 came out, but obviously I had no time. Baldur's Gate 3 is such a big game, right? And I was already playing so many other things that I couldn't do it. In the future, it's still a possibility. When I got Miles Morales, I got the remake of Spider-Man with it. And even at that time, I wanted to do a playthrough. But once again, it really comes down to time. And if I'm being honest, action games don't do very well on my channel. So in a way, that kind of does influence what I do play, because I do have series that I like more that I know will also do better on channel. Like, we have a whole bunch of Atlas games coming out this next year. We've got ReFantazio, and we've got Persona 3 Reload. And then other than that, we've got like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. There's so many games that are going to top the list before something that's older, and it makes it a little bit tough. So, but yeah, P3 Reload, I'm very, very excited for that. And Final Fantasy VII, as Teddy said there as well. Like, I can't wait for them either. Okay, checking for questions in the chat. All right. Some more questions. This one from Christopher. What do you find the most challenging aspect of content creation? The most challenging aspect? Honestly, the editing is very, very easy for me. Obviously, I teach video editing, so editing is very, very fast. I've got it down to a science. I've got like a whole system for how I take notes and whatnot, so like editing is not a problem. If I was doing more essay content, the editing would be a lot more intensive. But with only doing LPs, because that's what I'm doing for the most part on the channel, the editing is very easy. The hardest, most challenging part, for me, marketing myself is probably the hardest part for me. I don't really like social media, but it's a big part of being a content creator, so I have to engage with it to some level, but I could be doing it better. So I don't market myself very well. Like a lot of people would be, in every single video, they would be, showing off their merch, showing them like a short video of their Patreon, like a whole bunch of things. And I do some of that, but I don't do it very consistently. At the end of my things, I always ask people to like and subscribe. And then in my end intro that nobody watches, they generally are going to skip that. It says that I do have a Patreon when I'm thanking my Patreon subscribers. But, I don't market myself that often. So that's probably an area where I could improve. But I also don't want to feel pushy either. So it's like, where's the line for that? I don't know. But that's an area that I struggle with, is social media and marketing myself. And having the time to do that. It takes time and work to do that too. So, but yeah, I don't know. That's a tough question. That's a large question that I feel like there's something that I could pull out, but I'm not thinking of it at the moment. That's probably more of a challenging part for me, other than just the social media, but... Yeah, Persona games do really well on my channel, so, Persona 3 Reload, as Thunderstrike says, might be a really good one for the channel. I would hope so. There are some series that I know will do well. Like, we just started Persona 3 Tactica, and it's doing okay. It's not doing as well as like a base Persona game would, but that was to be expected. But because my channel's known for Persona content, it is getting some, searches and whatnot, and YouTube is actually putting it out in front of people that may not have found the channel otherwise, so that's always a good thing. Okay. Alright, so we've got Thunderstrike here, got a few questions, and Thunderstrike, you're here in the actual chat, so if you have follow-ups too, let me know. What are your top 5 favorite games, movies, TV shows, and characters? Well, that's not a small question, Thunder. As I read a chat comment from Thunderstrike saying, I apologize in advance for the large wall of text with my questions, lol. Well, here we go. 5 favorite games is really hard. I did a top 10 at one point in my behind the scenes tier on my Patreon, and I don't even remember what all was in there. Final Fantasy VII's probably in there. There's going to be a Fire Emblem game. I can't remember what I landed on. It was probably between Blue Lions and Blue Lions Three Houses, and between Awakening. One of those two probably made it on. Those two are interchangeable sometimes. Awakening was my first Fire Emblem game, and Blue Lions is just so important to me in Three Houses because that's what launched this channel, really. I was doing playthroughs before then, but I actually did Persona 4 Golden and Final Fantasy VII, the Switch HD version or whatever it was called. Those two actually happened before Three Houses, but Three Houses is the one that took off. So that one's really, really important to me for that reason. So I don't remember which one I put on the list. I think I put Divinity Original Sin 2, which is the game that Larian made before they made Baldur's Gate 3. That's actually a game that I want to do on channel someday because I love it so much. But that's how I knew that I was going to like Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm so glad that that's doing well on the channel. That means that if I do Divinity Original Sin 2 in the future, that it'll probably do really well, which is very good for me because I really want to do that, and I love that game to death. When it comes to movies, oh man, that's hard too. I really like Nolan brother. I really like the Coen brother movies. I like Christopher Nolan movies. I'm getting them mixed up. I like some of Tarantino's stuff, but not all. I like a lot of Scorsese movies. I love gangster movies. I can't pick favorites. The Godfather's a classic. That one would probably rank pretty high for me. I also really like neo-noir and old noir style films. So, like Touch of Evil, an old Orson Welles black and white noir film. That one's always been close to the top of my list. Love it to death. But yeah. Ray says it's been 3 years since 1,000 subs. Yep. And now we're at 10,000. And, you know, in 3 years, hopefully we're at 50,000. Hopefully it's exponential, right? We can do it. We can do it. Let's see. Okay. For TV shows, the Breaking Bad Better Call Saul duo is really good. I don't know. I can't rank them like my number one show is this, etc. But I really like Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. When it comes to like comedies, The Office and Parks and Rec are really high up there. Yeah, that one's tough. I watch so many TV shows, and for me, for whatever reason, sometimes it's like in one ear, out the other, which is just the way my brain works. I forget more than I remember half the time. You may have noticed from my playthroughs that I have a terrible memory sometimes, but like I've been watching a ton of shows. When it comes to kind of like things that I watched when I was younger and still hold up really well today, we've got Avatar: The Last Airbender. Love that show to death. It still holds up. I rewatched it recently, and yeah, it's still good. There are many things that I watched. For like more contemporary things that I'm watching and really enjoying, Arcane was fantastic. Cyberpunk 2077, Edge Runners was really good. But yeah, they're like, I don't know if they would like rank in my top 5 necessarily. And characters, I don't know, man. I don't know how to answer that one, sorry. Let's see, is there a series or game you'd like to play on the channel but haven't had the chance? Divinity Original Sin 2. Some other ones is I would really love to do Red Dead Redemption 2. I thought that game was quite literally a masterpiece. And it's right up my alley. I've already played it before, but I want to play it on channel. For things that Chained Echoes is one that recently came out that I really wanted to play but didn't have time to do. I would really love to play Chained Echoes. I already said that I want to play Radiant Dawn and Path of Radiance, those 2 Fire Emblem games. Those ones are like the top of my list for older Fire Emblem that I want to get on the channel. There's plenty of things. But yeah, so some of the things are things that I've played it before that I want to do on channel, and others of those are just games that I never had time to do. So yeah, I would love to do RDR2. Red Dead Redemption 2, it's just such a good game. And you guys all know that I really value like narrative, story, and writing, and that game marries its gameplay to its story so perfectly that it's just like, it's so immersive. Like, I think that Morrowind is an insanely immersive game. And I like, in my playthrough, like, you'll find me deeply immersed in that game. And I feel like I'd feel that same feeling playing RDR2 again, because it's such a good game. It's so immersive. But okay. As a musician, I'm legally obligated to ask this. Who's your favorite video game composer? Favorite soundtrack? Favorite non-game musical artist? All right. So lots of questions there. Favorite video game composer? We've got, basically, I've got like a whole bunch of vinyls, right? The vinyls tend to be Persona soundtracks, and Final Fantasy soundtracks, and Borislav Slavov, who is the composer for Baldur's Gate 3 and the Divinity series. So, like, Divinity Original Sin 2 has one of the best soundtracks ever. I love Final Fantasy, and I really, really love the Persona stuff. So Meguro, is that his name? Meguro, right? And yeah. So, you know, the classics. Everybody loves them, right? So Raymoto asks, is the story the number one thing that you look forward to when playing games, watching series, and movies? For the most part, yes. It's all about writing. And honestly, I think for me, the key to the writing is characters and character development. There are plenty of simple stories that are built around fascinating characters and well-written characters that are all the better for it. The Last of Us is a simple story and a premise we've seen many, many times, but the characters are really well written. And when the characters are really well written, you create a more dynamic story, a more real feeling story. And I guess real maybe isn't the thing that is important to me. I don't care about real stories, but I do care about characters who feel real. So that's one of the things that I love about The Last of Us. Yes, the overall plot and narrative is simple, but it's built around characters that are deep, and that's the differentiating factor, right? So I think if I were to boil it down, it's not necessarily just narrative and story. It actually is more about well-written characters for me. But yeah, Chrono Trigger OST is your favorite, says Colton. It's a good one. It's a really good one. But yeah, so those are my video game favorites. And my favorite non-game musical artists, right now, it's probably Spirit Box and Dance Gavin Dance. Both of which are a little bit on the harder side. They're not like death metal or anything, but they are in the hardcore scene. And both of them tend to have clean vocals and screaming vocals incorporated together. Spirit Box just did this doesn't happen that commonly, but they just did a feature and remix of Cobra by what's her name, something the Stallion. I'm not into hip hop, so I don't really know, but I thought it was cool that this band that I really like is bridging the gap between hip hop and this. Megan Thee Stallion, that's what it is. And yeah, but Spirit Box, it's got a female lead, and she screams and she sings her clean vocals, and she's incredibly talented. And with Dance Gavin Dance, they have a clean vocalist and a screaming vocalist. But yeah, I really like both of those bands right now. Thunderstrike, no Spirit Box. They've gotten actually pretty popular. They have enough stuff that isn't super heavy that they have ventured a little bit into the mainstream where other people are hearing of them. And they just got nominated for something in the rock category for the Grammys. I don't put a lot of stock in the Grammys, but it was nice to see Spirit Box show up there, because usually my genres don't show up in the rock genre of the Grammys because they don't care about the shit that I listen to. But yeah, I love Spirit Box. I have a bunch of vinyls for Spirit Box and Dance Gavin Dance as well. Welcome to the chat, Havrin. Oh, I'm glad to see that there are people who actually know who Spirit Box is. I freaking love them. I've been listening to them since their like self-titled stuff and like the Bakara era. Bakara is such a good song. Oh, and Rule of Nines. Bakara and Rule of Nines are fantastic songs. But it's not going to be for everybody, so some people are going to go and look this up because they're going to be like, who are these people? And you're going to be like, oh, this is the shit he listens to? I'm going to be like, yeah, that's the shit I listen to. It's good. You don't have to like it. It's not for everybody. If you were a Persona character, what Arcana do you think you'd be and what Persona would you have? Let's see. If I were a Persona character, what Arcana? Hermit. When I'm not at work, I'm here. So I'm probably Hermit. I need to get out more, you know, socialize with real people, but then I wouldn't be putting out content for you guys as much as I am, right? So there's that. As for, what Persona would I have? So if we're going off of like, let's go off of Persona 5, where all of the Persona, the base Persona that people get are based off of like, literary characters. And if I think of literary characters, who would I be? You gotta like dial it down, otherwise there's no way that I could come up with something. But let's see, maybe I'll just pick my favorite character from Wheel of Time or something, which is also a hard thing to do because there's a billion characters in that show. Or in that series, I should say. Let me think. Who is my favorite character right now in that? So it would probably be Matt Caltham then, because that's my favorite character from that series, and he's also known as the Prince of the Nine Moons. So that would be my persona, is Prince of the Nine Moons. There you go. Found it. Anybody else here read Wheel of Time? Let me know in the comments. I want to know if there are other people who love that series. It's so good. Wow, there are so many people that know Spirit Box. I love this. This makes me so happy. And yeah, Fenneca says characters are what make the story. As a writer, I agree 100% with what you said. It totally is. Like you'll notice that the things that I love the most are the ones where the characters are good. It's why when you look at my evaluation of Fire Emblem Three Houses and you look at my evaluation of Engage, I loathe Engage. I loathe it because those characters are nothing. There's nothing to them. All right, it's maybe not fair to say that there's nothing to them, but they are insubstantial. Especially when you compare them to what the series tends to do, which is not always the deepest, but definitely Three Houses definitely added some depth there that is definitely missing in Engage and is missing in Fates, but is present in many, many other parts of the series. Ooh, okay, so Darren, I knew that you were reading this series too, because you've mentioned that before. But Egwene was my favorite character. Wheel of Time is my favorite series ever. It's so good, seriously, people. Like, even if you don't read books, Wheel of Time is worth reading. It's got a really, really rich world. Robert Jordan was a master at creating, like, cultures in his world, and it really, really is quite deep. And Egwene is such a fantastic character. She really is. Can't even go into it, because there's so many things that happen to her throughout the course of the series. But Egwene rocks. She kicks ass. Yeah, Thunderstrike says, couldn't make it through Engage on my playthrough because the characters just kind of felt paper thin. Not only that, the world is thin, the plot was thin, and the characters were thin. All the things that I value were just like missing there. Like the only thing, like I wouldn't have finished the series had it not been for the gameplay actually being really fun. And when I say gameplay, I mean just the main story missions. Because every piece of side content and all of the writing in that game, I think was just really, really subpar, unfortunately. Hopefully they pick it up for the next series, but we'll see. Yeah, Thunderstrike, read Wheel of Time, do it. Fenneke, I like giving horse manure to Alfred and Engage. He deserves it, would be the only reason for me to start up the game. I mean, I did it many times in my playthrough. I made a couple people really angry. There were a couple people who were very, like, legitimately, like, upset that I kept giving Alfred manure whenever I saw him. It really hurt their feelings. And I'm sorry that I made that person feel that way, but I also was not going to stop. Okay. Last but not least, does Teddy deserve human rights? Lol. Everybody deserves human rights. But that doesn't mean that we can't hate Teddy still. I hate Teddy. I love Persona 4 Golden so much. And I hate Teddy so much. How can both of those things be true? I don't know, but it is. It is true. I did all of them. I did all of them, Thunder. All right, now on to Gaze, who is also here in the chat. We're gonna go through some of your questions too. Okay, just checking chat. Next game will be Engage gameplay and Three Houses writing. That's what we all want. Like, honestly, that's what we all want. I think that would be great. Let's see, we didn't specify a topic or limit to questions. Nope, you can ask anything. Can't promise I'll always answer them, but hey, you can ask anything. Let's see, where are we at? Thinking back to when you started your channel, how did you feel back then in comparison to how you feel now? Do you have any specific new goals or things that you have in mind or like to change? I think the biggest thing with me and my channel is I don't know how much it's changed necessarily. I've always had sort of a certain outlook when it comes to my channel. And that outlook is that I can't go into doing this channel expecting to get rich or replace my job with it. Like, as you guys have seen, I've been doing this for many years, like 4 years. It took me, I think, 1.5 years to even get monetized, maybe longer, I can't even remember. And then after that, like, I was making just chump change, right? And obviously I've just been growing ever since, but it's nowhere near replacing my income from my day job. Not even close. Like, I have to get 10 to 15 times the amount of money to get close to doing any kind of income replacement for my day job. So I can't go into this thinking, oh, this is my job, this is going to replace my day job, things like that. It has to be something I'm passionate and care about. So some of my rules for doing this is that, like, I'm not going to chase trends, because why would I? Why turn it into a job when I can just do the thing that I was doing as a hobby anyway and put it on YouTube? And that's kind of how I've always approached it. And that hasn't really changed. I've gotten new equipment as YouTube ad revenue has allowed me to purchase new things. But one of my other rules about YouTube is that now that I am making money, I cannot spend more than I make on ad revenue. So in other words, I can never take a loss on YouTube. So the computer that I bought this year was paid for through ad revenue. I finally got to a point where I could upgrade that computer. I knew that I needed to in order to do a good playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, and it turned out really well because Baldur's Gate 3 ended up being one of my best series. It is my top series right now. So it's worked out so far, and when I'm only playing the things that I'm passionate about, that means that, like, that means that, you know, like, I'm making better content, right? People who are chasing the trends or who are insistent on making money on every series that they start, you can't grow that way. And let me put it into perspective for you. I've got Cyberpunk 2077. I've got a series of that going out right now, and it does terrible. Most people who come to my channel are here for strategy RPGs and Japanese RPGs. That's what most of my viewers watch. And apparently Morrowind. Somehow I broke into the Morrowind Baldur's Gate 3, so maybe I'm falling into Western RPGs a little bit now too. It's branching out, right? But it still is that anytime I do anything that is action-based, or action-based or first-person shooter types of things, they never do well on my channel. That doesn't mean that I don't do them. I have a ton of series, and Cyberpunk is one of them. But Cyberpunk has terrible numbers. You compare that to what I'm getting on Baldur's Gate and what I'm getting on Persona 5 Tactica right now, and you're going to see that, like, I'm not even breaking 100 on most of these in views. But I don't care, because I'm doing it because I wanted to play Cyberpunk. And that's the only way I know how to do it, right? And when we have the good series, that's great, but, like, if I canceled every series that didn't do well, half of my channel wouldn't be complete playthroughs. So, and that wouldn't, I feel like that wouldn't encourage people to stick around. So even when something isn't doing well, if I'm having fun and I'm enjoying it, I'm still going to complete it. That isn't to say that I haven't dropped series before. I definitely have, but I try not to. And sometimes it just comes out of necessity, and sometimes it's just that like I have to move on, and sometimes it actually is because I wasn't enjoying myself and needed to move on, right? But like I start games that I think that I'm going to enjoy, and most of the time I do. So that's kind of what it is. So I rambled on for a lot there, but my goals haven't really changed that much. My goal is to basically continue to play what I want to play, not follow trends, not become what I often refer to as a loud tuber. I don't need to engage with the younger audiences, which tend to bring in more numbers, right? I feel like a lot of what I refer to as loud tubers are people who appeal to younger audiences, and that pulls in a lot of numbers. That's not me. I want my demographic to be a little bit older, and they are. My demographic is basically 18 to 45. And that's great for me because I tend to have better discourse in my comment section. I get to play what I want to play without too many people being terrible in comments and things like that. I very rarely have to ban people. And it's worked out. I've continued to grow since then. Like I said, it's not incredibly fast growth, but with an LP channel, I don't expect it to be. So it's worked out really well for me. But yeah, I'm rambling at this point. I think I've stated my point. So now I'm going to check and see if there are any questions that I've ignored here. Teddy says that I love Teddy. He's funny. I'm happy. I'm happy that there are some of you out there. Gaze says the sort of authenticity and how you approach that part of your content creation is a big part of what made me stay after I found your channel. Yeah, I'm definitely more muted than a lot of like people on YouTube, and I also like people who aren't super loud, and I don't know, I don't want to call people out for doing what they do really well because it really works for them, and some people are like that, but like I'm introverted, they're extroverted, right? So I definitely am more appealed to people who are more in line with the way that I am and with my playthroughs. So I also try to make that the type of content that I would want to consume, which is generally just a calmer demeanor, trying to add in, commentary that is semi-intelligent. I mean, I can't say that it's incredibly intelligent, but I try to add in a little bit of thought into the things that I comment about, and sometimes I'm better at that, and sometimes I'm not. I'm not saying I'm a smart guy, I ain't, but I do try to... I try to add a little bit of extra in that way, and I feel like that's what maybe gives more value to my commentary, since I'm not loud and entertaining in an extroverted way. I have to be engaging in a different way. And I feel like I've cultivated an audience that appreciates my style, so it works out well for me. Cyberpunk probably has terrible numbers partially because of the reputation of the game, kind of bombed, lol. That is true, but also I have a whole bunch of other series to corroborate basically that my channel doesn't do well with these things. God of War didn't do well, Spider-Man didn't do well, Ghost of Tsushima didn't do well. Basically anytime I play anything outside of the RPG genre that is more action-based, it just doesn't do well on my channel. So it's probably both in this case. But yeah, I'm really loving Cyberpunk. It's so good, and the DLC is absolutely fantastic. 2.0 really does change the game in ways that I think really do transform that game. So we've got Vast Silver. Didn't really have any questions for you, but I wanted to congratulate you on 10K. Thank you. I've been watching you for almost 4 years now, on and off. Whenever I want to watch a game, you are my go-to. Well, that's awesome. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Quick question, will SMT4 make a return? Probably not, but I want to know. SMT4 has been one of those ones that has haunted me for so long now, because it's another one just like Sacred Stones that I want to return to and keep on not having the time to. And at one point I said, hey, I promise you all that if I return to SMT4, if I start putting out episodes, I will finish the game. And I've actually got about 8 more episodes than what anybody has ever seen in SMT4, and then I got busy with work and had to stop again. So I didn't release those episodes because I knew that I didn't have time to finish the series again. So I've got 8 episodes that nobody's seen of SMT4, and eventually I want to return and record the rest, but I'm not going to put them out until it's complete because I don't want to make people think that I've started it up and then I stop it again because I run out of time. So basically what it's come down to is that SMT4 is basically on ice until I actually finish recording the entire rest of the series. And if I can manage to do that, then I'll start releasing them. But can't make any promises right now because I have no time. But yeah, that one's been haunting me. I want to get back to it. Let's see. Vast found the channel through P5R. Yep, P5R, Blue Lions, and Morrowind, and now Baldur's Gate. Those are probably the 4 biggest growers for the channel. A+ says, I think you're entertaining. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. God of War and Ragnarok were so good. I thoroughly enjoyed the playthrough of those. Yeah, I really, really liked Ragnarok. My playthrough of the first God of War was a little bit quicker, not my usual style, but I wanted to get that one out before Ragnarok came out, and so I just went through the story. But yeah, I love that series. Good stuff. True or false, you were the voice actor of Light from Death Note? False. I wish I was talented enough to actually be a voice actor. But you guys have seen enough of my content to know that I flub on my words all the time. It doesn't matter if I can have a good voice, I have to maintain it through an entire sentence. And that's just, I can't do that. I can't formulate a full sentence without flubbing it up. You know? Yeah, so not the voice for Light, although I've heard that several times. And I've tried listening to the chip scene. I go and watch the chip scene and I'm like, doesn't it sound like me? Nobody really knows what they sound like, right? Every time I hear myself, it's either through a mic and then out a speaker, or it's in my own head, which sounds completely different. So if you guys say so, sure. Question, would you consider a grand strategy like Crusader Kings 3? That's not a series that I've ever tried. So basically, things like that where it's kind of like a similar but completely different genre in a lot of ways, completely different type of strategy that a grand sim is. I would need to look into it more, and frankly, I'm so busy that there just hasn't been an opportunity to do something like that. So it's not likely, but it's not completely out of the question. Like, I'm sure that if I got into it, I would have a great time with it. But I've never gotten into the series, and I would need to know how to play them at least to some degree before doing a let's play of them. Like, it's one thing that I feel competent playing most RPGs and most strategy RPGs that are turn-based, because I have a framework for how those games generally run. Crusader Kings, I wouldn't even know where to start, so I don't even know if I would make good content of it. It's the same way that I feel about other sim games. Like, I love city builders, but I'm also not that good at city builders. So I don't make content about city building. Like, I could have started a City Skylines playthrough here, but I'm not that good at playing them, so I don't feel like I'd make good content of it. It's that sort of thing. Yeah, the backlog is crazy right now because games are out of, like, they won't stop coming out, especially the good ones, gays. So I feel that. Ray is asking, question, is there a chance you're gonna play and put out a video on a game called AI the Somnium Files? No. And the reason for that is because I've already seen the game. I've seen the first game and the second game already, which means that since I already know what happens in the game, I wouldn't make good content of that. Those are very, very story-based games. The mystery is the fundamental important part of that. And I feel like I wouldn't make good content because it would be way more interesting if I went in blind to those games and played them, because then I would be able to start making guesses, make intelligent commentary. But since I already know all the answers, I can't do a playthrough of it. So since I've already experienced those games, I can't do a Let's Play of them. So those are really good games though, so go and check them out. I'm not going to do a playthrough of them, but they're very good. They're very goofy in a lot of ways, but it's good stuff. It's from the same people who do the Nonary games. So if you've ever experienced those and liked them, you'll probably like the Somnium Files. All right, back to our list here. You said in many of your playthroughs that you're a professor. Did you always want to work in the same field you do now, or are there other things you were interested in or are still interested in that you could imagine doing for a living? I think my goal was always to be a video editor. I always wanted to be a video editor. I was always interested in multimedia, and I'm doing some of that. Like, I'm not actually a video editor for like a TV show or a movies or anything like that, which I think is what the dream was, right? But I really like what I do, both on YouTube and at work. As for the professor thing, I never expected to be a professor. I'm going to be honest with you, I fell into this job, which is a weird thing to think about. It was an accident. When it comes down to it, was an accident. I've always been doing multimedia and stuff. In college, I was getting my degree in film and media arts. That's what my degree is in. And while I was doing that, I was working for, I basically put myself out there. I went and did jobs for the theater department, and I was doing my own student films. And so I was producing free advertisements for the theater department, while at the same time I was producing a student film for an independent study. And I had a audio engineer who came and worked on that film with me, and he happened to work at the dance school that I now work at. And he asked me to come and do videography for him to help film the shows that they were putting on. So I started doing that, while at the same time I was also working as an archivist for multimedia at our library. So I was doing a shit ton of jobs, way too many things, honestly. But so I was working as an archivist. I was learning how to film live performances, and I was producing advertisements for the theater department, while also just doing my own films. And through all those connections, that person who was my sound engineer, he eventually left his job at that dance school, and he told me that there was going to be an opening. I applied for it and started as a staff position, where I was doing audio and video specialist work, doing a lot of those things that I was already doing, archiving, filming, and creating promos, things like that. And then they also wanted me to teach freshmen how to edit audio and video, because that was a specialty I had. So while I was working as a staff member, they also hired me as an adjunct instructor. And so I did that for 2 years. And after those 2 years, they basically said, all right, we're going to make you a clinical professor now, assistant professor. And so I moved into a professorship where, I kept doing a lot of the same things, but just at a higher level. So I never planned to be a professor. It just happened. And that's how it happened. So Bad Yoraz, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, says, hi AV, congrats on the 10K subs. Just wanted to thank you for helping me get through the pandemic way back in 2020. It's been great following your growth since then. Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that was a weird time for all of us. And YouTube was definitely, it helped me too. I know that it helped a lot of people, like just being able to consume stuff and connect with people online. There was a lot of that happening at that time because it was really, really tough. Let's see. Yeah, it's really funny. Like, I always tell my students, like, especially since I work in the arts, it very much is about making connections. And I always tell them that one of the best things that they can do while they're in college is start working with other artists in different fields. That's what I was doing, and that's what led to my job. And you can't predict those things. You can have dreams and stuff, but sometimes you just don't know what's going to lead to what. and I made a ton of different choices that all culminated in me having the exact skill set I needed in order to get the job that I got. So, and like, I don't have a master's degree. Like, that's usually a requirement for professors. And that's why I'm clinical instead of just a standard assistant professor. But like, that's kind of like a big deal. I'm able to get a position that I normally wouldn't have been able to get because of very specific specialty that I had. So I consider myself very lucky in that. But yeah. All right. So hopefully that answers that question. That went deep, huh? The most important question of all, how are all your lovely pets doing? Have fun and all the best. So good. So good. Look at that blep. He's got his tongue out a little bit right now. How's it going, buddy? Look at the camera. Look at the camera. Show him your little blep. But he's doing so good. I got another cat that's over here. You want to come and say hi? I'm going to put you down for a second. Poor Winston. He's going to be mad. Come here, dude. Oh. This one's Link. No, this one's Cloud. They look very similar, but the gray nose, the half gray and white nose, this one is Cloud. And he's upset that I moved him. You good, bro? He's gonna take off now. And then this one's Link. And yes, they are different cats. Full white nose is Link. This one actually has a little bit of a neurological issue. It's not a bad one, but he wobbles when he walks. So his two back legs don't work as well as they could. But he still gets around fine. He still tries to jump up places where he really shouldn't be with his bad balance, but, you know, he does all right. But yeah, say hello. They're good cats. But yeah, they're doing great. All right, you can go back down now. All right, Winston, you want back up? All right. It was the animal musical chairs there, while Persona blared in the background. Yeah, Thunderstrike. So he says, your cats are named Cloud and Link. That's awesome. And if you'll notice in the background, I've got a display for Cloud and Link. And, oh, nope, the other one fell. I have one for Winston too, which I'll show you in just a minute. But, yeah, those are representative of my animals there. Oh, I can't do this. There we go. Yep. My head is in the way. Everything is backwards, and I'm not coordinated. But let me show you the other one. You're all gonna get to see that I'm just wearing sweatpants. So, yeah, I dressed up real nice for y'all. Winston's trying to steal my seat. And usually I put this up underneath those because I don't have one that represents Winston. If any of you guys have watched New Girl, this is my favorite character from New Girl, and his name is Winston. Not what he was named after, but I just put this up underneath there. I'm gonna go put it back. You know what? I don't know why, but I should have gone to this one. What was I thinking? This is why I don't do live streams. I'm bad at this shit. Now you can see it a little bit larger. But boom, boom. So Cloud, Link, and then we got Winston. It doesn't want to stay. Nailed it. Okay, I'm good at this streaming thing. Whenever you say cats are rubbing the microphone, I would just put my headphones at max so I could hear them, but never able to get a glimpse. Here's the thing, is that they can't do it now. My mic arm broke recently, and I used to have one that came right here, and it was down here. And the new one that I got is up here now, so I now have my mic up here, so they can't even reach it unless they really go for it. So it's not gonna happen anymore. No more cats rubbing their face against the microphone. I did want to ask, can you show us your statues in the background? I was wondering what all there was. You know what? I might actually be able to even do this. I think I have Droid Cam set up on my phone. So give me a second, and I'll show you guys what's back there. Let's see, there's that. Then I'll go here. I'll go here. All right. You won't be able to hear me, but I'll show you the statues. Cats? Hello. Hello. Hey, hello. And that's my new computer. It's nice. It was expensive. And I appreciate all of you because your ad revenue helped pay for it. Thank you very much. That is a lot of clouds. You're not wrong. Ton of clouds. So yeah, if I were to answer who some of my favorite characters were from earlier that I didn't know how to answer, Cloud's probably up there. And don't mind the Makoto. I got that for no reason in particular. No reason in particular. Let's see. Yeah, that is a cat, not a statue. You're right. I couldn't help myself. Had to show him off some more. Let's see. Yeah, I actually really like the Makoto statue. The big cloud and the bike came with the special edition of the original remake. Final Fantasy VII Remake, I got the special edition. I wasn't able to get the new one for Rebirth, the one with Sephiroth and stuff. I wanted it so bad, but it was impossible. I was way too late. It got announced and then they were sold out before I even thought about opening a website, so... A favorite piece. So Thunderstrike is asking if I have a favorite piece in there. I don't really care about the statues that much. They're kind of just like things that I think look nice. When it comes to my favorite things in like the video game collection, the physical collection that I've got back there, Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 is probably my favorite. Like literally they're right there. That's 7, that's 8, that's 9. And having all three of those original games on the PlayStation on disc makes me so happy for no reason. I'm just so happy that I own them, and I will never, ever, ever get rid of them, so. Let's see. Metal Gear on the channel. That first game is a classic for me. Boom, right there. And then Final Fantasy Tactics below it. Legend of Dragoon right there. Oh man, I got some good classics. I love it. Gaze wanted the P5 Joker figure. Yeah, that one's hard to find still, isn't it? Happens too often that you end up not being able to get those, huh? That one would be a good one to get. It's a miracle the cats haven't nibbled on them. They have knocked them over before. Most of the time, I actually, when I'm not in here, I always close my office door. When they were kittens, they were more mischievous. Now they're not bad. They've kind of learned what they are and aren't supposed to jump onto for the most part. But sometimes when they're playing, they get a little bit rowdy and still, you know, jump places they shouldn't. But for the most part, they're really good cats. They, you know, you can see them right there. But they don't really jump up there, so they haven't chewed on those. They did at one point chew on some headphone cables that I had and ruined one of my really nice sets of headphones. So all of my headphones now have interchangeable cables because that happened, but that was when they were kittens. Okay, so on to some more questions. We've got Darren York, who has been around, like, I swear, Darren, you've been here from the beginning. I don't know if it was actually the beginning, but it kind of feels that way. You've been around for so long. You've been supporting me on Patreon. Like, you've been my longest supporter on Patreon, hands down, and also just the largest supporter on my Patreon. So I love you, man. Thank you so much for your support of the channel over the years. Let's get to your questions now. So here's some questions to consider. Besides video games, do you have any other hobbies that you've never shared with your audience? I think I've shared a lot of them. I honestly don't have all that many hobbies other than like what I'm doing here. Also, let's just jump back over here. I'm good at streaming. This is where we're at right here. So we got Darren here, and hobbies that I've never shared with my audience. I mean, like, that's the thing, is like I mostly just consume media all the time. I play video games, I read books. For other hobbies and stuff, like, what do I do? I'm gonna have an existential crisis thinking about this. I'm like, but like, I really do think of YouTube as kind of like my main side hobby is video games and YouTube. Other things that I do besides just like reading and watching movies and stuff. Yeah, I don't really get into sports or anything, so not a lot going on there. And yeah, I don't do a lot of other stuff. I actually used to write a lot. I haven't done that recently. That's something that I should probably get back into, is writing. As somebody who really appreciates well-written stories, I should probably start working on that skill again. When I was a kid, man, I used to write all the time. I actually have like handwritten 100-page stories about Zelda. I made a 100-page fan fiction basically about Zelda. And I've done writing over the years. Obviously, I've done some script writing for what I did in college and whatnot. So, you know, writing is probably one of those things that I should get back into as a hobby, because I've kind of neglected it over the years, but, you know. Any niche book recommendations? I don't know about niche, because like I read a lot of fantasy. Like I said, I recommend Wheel of Time. It's not really niche. It's one of the most well-known fantasy series out there, so I wouldn't call it niche. I also really like Stephen King, and that's not niche at all. So I don't know if I have any niche book recommendations, but let's see. Okay, on to the next question here. If I could listen to only one vinyl the rest of your life, what would it be for the rest of time? So out of the collection that I currently have, if it can be a collection, or I'm wondering, is it a collection or a single vinyl? If it's a collection, I'm going to go with my Persona 5 collection, because I have the Persona 5 collection that's a set of 5 vinyls, and that would, like, I mean, look at what's playing in the background. It's Persona. I have the Persona 3, the Persona 4, and the Persona 5 vinyl sets, and if I had to pick one of them to listen to, it'd be Persona 5, because I love the acid jazz of Persona 5. It's just so good. If it were a single vinyl, oh, for the rest of time, maybe my Mothership vinyl of Dance Gavin Dance. The Mothership album is fantastic. So I think if it was just a single one, I would go with the Mothership Dance Gavin Dance vinyl. If I could do a whole collection, I would do the Persona 5 collection. So good. So good. And Darren allowed me to choose either in the comments, so yep, those would be my choices on both sides of that. Yeah, the Persona set of vinyls was very expensive. I got the Persona 5 one when it originally came out, which was really hard to do. They sold out immediately, and then they had like a second batch that they ended up being able to sell, and I managed to get that in just barely. And then it wasn't until many, many years later that they did the Persona 3 and 4 one. And I managed to get those, but we're talking about like $100 for each of those collections. So that's like $300 in vinyls just right there. It was not cheap. But it's Persona, man. I had to do it. I had to do it. Was it smart? Probably not, but I did it anyway. Yeah. People are really jealous of it, so I'm going to go and get it and show it to you all. To make you even more jealous. Alright, I grabbed a whole bunch of my video game collection ones. The Last of Us, right here. God of War 2018. Insomniac Spider-Man. And these basically serve as like wall art. I've always got 4 of these on display at one time that I can easily switch out. And like, look how beautiful some of these are. Divinity Original Sin 2. The game that Larian made before Baldur's Gate 3 and that you should all play if you're loving Baldur's Gate 3 because it's so good. And this music is so good too. I always play that soundtrack at every D&D session. The Persona 3 set. It's a full box. I'm not going to pull them all out, but got the full set. The Persona 4 set. Another thick box. And the Persona 5 set. The Final Fantasy VII Remake vinyl. This one I'm actually going to take out of its sleeve. It's a Buster Sword. Go. Gotta get that insert back in. And then I've got one more. Nier Automata. This one's actually really damn cool. I'm actually going to pull this one out. because the art is gorgeous. So that's the Gestalt one. And then the Automata one is actually on my wall. I have to go and get that one. Look how gorgeous that is. This one's almost always displayed on the wall because this one's so good. Ooh. Alright, I'm gonna go put those back so that the cats don't climb all over them, so I'll be gone just a moment, but those are the vinyls. Yeah, I've been building that collection for quite a long time now, so I've just been slowly getting the ones that are important to me, the ones that have some of the best music. But yeah. Yeah, the 2B art is so good. Like I said, that one's almost always on display. Okay. So, sorry for making you all jealous. It's an expensive hobby to collect vinyl. Don't do it. It's expensive. But I love it. Okay, so let's see. Where do we leave off? Hobbies, the vinyl question. Are you and your friends still actively playing D&D? Have you tried your hand at being a DM? I've never tried my hand at being a DM. I don't have the rule book or the compendium for like enemies and stuff. One of my other friends does. And so he's our DM. We've only done a couple of sessions. We've had fun with them, but I haven't been able to play a lot of D&D. If I had more time, I would love to try my hand at DMing, but it's a big time commitment, so I haven't really done that, but I have played a couple of sessions, just not all that often. It's really hard for us to get together often enough for D&D, and sometimes people want to do different things than D&D. I could do every hangout and do D&D, but you know, time constraints and just like all sorts of things continually get in the way. But what games have you been enjoying off channel? Lately I haven't been playing a lot off channel. It's been so busy playing the good games that are on channel that I haven't had a lot of time. As anybody who's in my behind the scenes tier on Patreon or YouTube knows, I have played a little bit of City Skylines 2 recently. I put a little bit of content of me playing City Skylines up on my behind the scenes because I knew I wasn't going to be playing that on channel. So I've been playing that a little bit on my own. And other than that, I've played a little bit recently of, as many of you guys probably know, Attack on Titan just finished the anime. The anime just finally finished. And I really like that anime. And I bought the Attack on Titan 2 video game on Nintendo Switch so that I could play something on my handheld. I've been playing a little bit of that. I'm kind of bad at it, but it's been fun. But those are kind of the only two things that I've been playing. I want to play Dave the Diver, but I don't think it's out on Nintendo Switch yet. And as soon as it is, that's going to be a perfect handheld Switch game. So Dave the Diver is on my list of games that I want to just spend some time playing. Yeah, people are mentioning this song right now. I love this song too. Yeah, it's so good. Let's see, have you ever played any of the Star Ocean or Dragon Quest games? I have not. I've not played any of them. A lot of people recommend them, including you, Darren, and maybe someday I'm going to be able to get into them. Dragon Quest in particular is one that I don't know if I want to get into. I've had a lot of issues with the composer, and I don't know if I want to support the series while he's composing for the game. I think maybe once he moves on from the series, I might consider it more, but we don't need to get into that. I just have some issues with the composer of Dragon Quest. and that's been something that has basically made it so I don't want to even give it a shot, even though it's a really well-respected RPG in the scene. I just haven't gotten into it, and yeah, it just validates my choice not to. I don't think he's the only reason, I just think I haven't had the chance to get into the series, but he gives me an excuse to continue not playing Dragon Quest games. As for Star Ocean, I just don't know that much about it and haven't gotten into it yet, you know? What is the best Star Ocean game to get your foot wet on? Like, what's a good beginner Star Ocean game? That's what I should ask. So let me know. Let me know in the comments. Any of you guys who have played Star Ocean, especially you, Darren, let me know what's going on there. Somebody said, hasn't he passed though? Maybe he did. I didn't hear about that. I know that he was still around a couple years ago, so when the last major game came out, he was still around. Maybe he's passed since then. Also, like, with the way that he is with his music, him as a person, as just a personal person, there's lots of issues there, but also, isn't Dragon Quest just like a pit for copyright issues because of him? So like, even if they continue on the series, a lot of people playing those games are going to be copyright claimed out the wazoo just because, even though he's passed, they're still going to be claimed by his estate, essentially. There's lots of issues with Dragon Quest and his music, but I don't know. Darren confirms he did pass away. I must have missed that somewhere along the way. And Darren also recommends Star Ocean Second Story R, which is the one that just came out, right? Yeah, if I can find the time. Right now it's not on my short list because of everything that's about to be coming out. We've got Persona 3 Reload, we've got Fantasio, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I think there's even like one or two other ones that I know are coming out that I have to play too, but there's so much coming out right now that I can't really think about it at the moment, but it's gonna have to go on the list somewhere. So, Fenicky asks a question, because you said you like writing. If you ever get back to it, do you think you'll ever publish something? That I don't know. It's never been a dream of mine to publish anything. I've just enjoyed the act of writing, so maybe. I've never felt like I'm that strong of a writer, if I'm being completely honest. So I don't know if I'd ever be good enough. I think it's just something that I want to cultivate because I enjoy writing and I enjoy storytelling. I don't know if I would ever be good enough, but you know, practice could make me better. And so maybe it's not out of the question, but no, I haven't really thought about it just because it's never been a dream of mine necessarily to publish, but. Would I consider playing Legends of Heroes? Legends of Heroes, is that, like the Trails of Cold Steel and like all of that is the Heroes series, right? That's a huge series. I have played Trails of Cold Steel, and I did it on the recommendation after I had just finished Persona 4 Golden for the first time, and I remember asking on forums, what should I play that's similar to this because I need more like this? No, it was after I played Persona 3 Portable, because I played Persona 4 Golden, then immediately after I played Persona 3 Portable, and then when that was over, there was no Persona 5 yet. So I asked on a forum, what should I play that's like this because I need more like this? And people recommended Trails of Cold Steel, and I think that was a mistake. Trails of Cold Steel, it's a perfectly serviceable JRPG. But when you're just coming off of two incredibly good Persona games, and then you're being told, yeah, this is similar, I was let down pretty big, and I've had kind of a sour taste in my mouth about the series ever since. And I think it's mostly, I think I'm being a little bit unfair to it, because I'm comparing it so closely, because people told me that it was in the same vein as Persona series, and it wasn't. So maybe my view of the series is unfair, but I found it to be incredibly slow and pretty generic. And I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me because when you invest in that series, I feel like there's a lot of depth there. But looking at only one story in the series, I didn't get that sense of depth. So I think that I have to dive into that series in order to get that depth, and I didn't have the patience for it at the time. So right now, the Trails of series isn't one that I'm super interested in delving back into. First of all, it seems like a deep pool to delve into, and I don't have the time to delve into it. So, and I would have to give it a lot of time. So that's where I'm at with that series. It's probably a fantastic series. In fact, it's gotta be. Like, if where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's enough people out there saying that it's a fantastic overall series, but my experience with that one game didn't instill confidence in me. And someday I'll probably give it another chance. Yeah, Darren is saying that Trails of Cold Steel, that first one, is a slow burn, and that as you invest into the second game, and I think there's even a third one in specifically Cold Steel, right? It basically just grows on itself and the characters through each of the games, which is what I've heard, but yeah, man, that first game was such a slog for me. It was such a slog. But yeah, I think that people comparing it to Persona when they recommended it to me probably was the biggest nail in the coffin. If people hadn't have done that, I probably would have had a different outlook entirely. And Gaze says, also always been more of an Ys person. Me too, actually. I haven't played a ton of Ys games, but I've played, what is it, 7? 7 or 8? Which one is the one on the island? The one on the island where they get shipwrecked. That was the first one I played, and then I played Celceta. And I think I played one of the older ones after that. I haven't played a ton of Ys, but I really enjoyed what I did play. Okay, and Teddy is saying that there's 4 games in the Trails of Cold Steel series. Whew. Like I said, it's an investment. You can't just dip your toe in. You gotta dive deep. And I think that's the issue, is like, I had a bad first impression. That was years ago at this point. But at this point, like, if I started it now, I'd have to really delve into it, and I don't have the time, but yeah. Okay, so Darren also asked, besides teaching and directing live stream performances, what else do you create for or are in charge of at your university? Our archives. I maintain all of our archives. I teach students how to mix music for their own choreographic works. I also get students footage of the performances they've been a part of so that they can use them in their audition reels. I obviously do the live streams. I train my videographers. We have 3 videographers for every live stream while I direct it. And so I train videographers. I also am technically our sound engineer. Which means that I also mix and master pretty much every single track that goes into our shows, make sure that they're put into a cue lab so that they can be cued by whoever's actually running it during the show, and I usually train them how to use our soundboard and sound system in our theater. So there's a shit ton of stuff I do. I also do advertising work for the fine arts and for our school. I produce promos for our shows. I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of different things. Yeah. I also go and like film smaller things that happen within our school. So like a lot of times we'll have guest artists come in, and so I'll go into the studio and film them while they're teaching guest classes, things like that. So lots of different things that I do at my job at the university. Let's see, just checking chat. Island is 8. Yeah, 8 is the one that I played then. Yep. So when we're talking about Ys, I played Ys 8 and Celceta both. No, I didn't do 8 on channel. That was before I was doing YouTube. Celceta is on channel, though. I do have a playthrough of Ys Celceta on channel. I would love to do 8, because I love that game. Which game do you think will win Best Game of the Year 2023, and which one do you wish would win Best Game of the Year? They are the same game. It's going to be Baldur's Gate 3. That is the best game this year. I love it to death. Larian made one of my previous favorite RPGs when it came to Divinity Original Sin 2, and then they just stepped up their game for this one as well. They deserve all the praise. I hope that Sven Vink also wins Best Direction. He deserves it. They might even win Best Soundtrack. They're gonna sweep. They're gonna sweep, and they're gonna deserve it. It's Baldur's Gate's year, baby. Let's see. Darren says your university would tank if you ever leave. Well, I did get a raise through telling them that I was going to leave if they didn't give me a raise at one point, so there might be some truth to that. At least it's nice to know that they value what I do. And they definitely valued it during COVID as well, because the live streaming stuff was a necessity at that point in time. Let's see. Yeah, Issei is so good. I loved the stranded on an island thing and exploring. Like the themes of that game and the way that the gameplay and the story kind of like mesh with each other for exploring the island and getting 100% exploration, filling out that map and collecting survivors and stuff. It was so good. Issei is a fantastic video game. I love it. That should go on my list of things that I want to do eventually on the channel. It's so good. Do you direct all live stream productions at your university? Yes, I've directed every single live stream that we've done since we started doing them, except for three of them. And for 2 of them, I was in the same room while somebody else directed because I was showing them how to do it. And then, yeah, I think there's only been 1 time that I haven't been in the room while it was being directed. So, like, we're talking about hundreds of live streams there, and I've done them. I was involved with all of them. If there are performances that are not being live streamed, do you have other responsibilities you help with during the performance? Like I said, I'm also the sound engineer, so if there are audio issues, then I might be asked to come in and fix them, or alter them, or things like that. But for the most part, if it's a 1 weekend show, we live stream every single performance. If it's a 2 weekend show, we choose one of the 2 weekends and live stream one of the 2. So honestly, I'm doing almost every show that's performed except for 2 weekend shows, which only happens twice each semester. And in those cases, I'm usually not there unless I specifically need to because of an audio issue. So, yeah, usually no for those. Blotted Not Perfect just popped in to say congrats on 10K. I don't know when it happened, but much deserved. Thank you for being my go-to walkthrough playthrough. Started by me typing in FE3H walkthrough. Now I need to go sleep. Yep, that's how many of you find me, and I love it. Let's see. Boom. Let's see. Thunderstrike says, oh, I don't know, I gotta disagree with you about the best soundtrack thing. So Game Awards, is that what we're talking about? Yeah, Final Fantasy 16 was insanely good. BG3 is phenomenal. FF16 is next level. I think that there are a handful of insanely good bangers in Final Fantasy 16, but I don't think it's across the board nailing it every single song. That is absolutely the case in my opinion for BG3. That's where I differentiate it. I do like, is Soken, right? Soken is the composer for Final Fantasy 16. He does a fantastic job. I don't think every single one was a winner though. And I think that BG3 is a winner on every single song. But, you know, I also really, really, really love Borislav Slavov as a composer. So I might be a little bit biased. Okay. Yep, I think that was the last one for Darren. So let's move on. We've got WRLL here. What's the longest you've spent 100%ing a game and was it worth it? So I technically, if I had 100%ed Fire Emblem Three Houses, it would be that, because I did all 3 playthroughs. I put in 300 plus hours, but I don't think that I can say that I 100%ed that game because I still didn't get every single, what do they call them? I want to call them social links. I'm thinking of Persona right now. You know what I'm talking about. They're chats. Why am I blanking on the name of that right now? I feel so dumb. I need more coffee or something, but it's almost 5 o'clock where I'm at, so probably not going to get more coffee. Supports. There it is. Brain fart. Okay, so I didn't get all the supports. And I don't think that I collected every single like treasure and stuff that was on every single map. And, little things like that. So that one's not 100%. So that one doesn't count. For the 100%ers, the longest one would have to be Persona 5 Royal. That was probably the longest playthrough that was a 100% playthrough. Was it worth it? Yes. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't enjoy it. I don't do 100%s that often. I only do 100%s when I'm actually like absolutely 100% invested. So, yeah, just know that like if I did 100% for a game, you can rest assured I really, really enjoyed that game. So, yeah. Let's see. USVI Dragon Slayer asks, what's your favorite Fire Emblem Let's Play moment? This is actually a really good question. And I've done a lot of Fire Emblem stuff. And so like for a lot of people, it might be difficult to pick that moment. I don't think it's difficult for me to pick that moment. It was during the Blue Lions playthrough. And when we get to the post-time skip, Deidou is believed to be dead, right? Deidou. One of my literally my favorite character in Three Houses. And I was so upset about that. I was so sad about that. And I was like, no, we didn't see a body. We didn't see the death. He might still be alive. And then the game just kept going and going and going, and he wasn't coming back. And I gave up. I was like, okay, well, I guess Deidou's actually dead. He's really dead. And then, what was it? The bridge. They're on the bridge, right? I think it's the mission on one of the bridges. I can't remember the exact name. But all of a sudden, Deidou shows up. And I was so excited. It's one of my favorite moments. I was losing my mind. I was so happy. And Deidou showed up. It was glorious. And like the topping on top of the cake, and the thing that made it so much more meaningful for me is that episode, I recorded that on the day that was basically a year after, or 2 years, I can't remember, after my brother had passed away. And so I dedicated at the start of that episode to my brother, who had passed away previously. And for that to be such an important moment in the story too, and to have this surprise that made me so happy on that day, I don't know, it was like icing on top of the cake. Like it was like honoring my brother who also liked the Fire Emblem series, and it was just such a great moment, and I'll always remember it. So Deidou coming back in the episode that I dedicated to my brother, not knowing it was going to be such an awesome episode, it was amazing. So that's the moment. I loved it. It's great. Let's see. Yeah, Deidou's return, says Raymoto. Exclamation mark. Cameron Lockett says, followed your Persona 5 playthrough alongside my playthrough, and it enhanced the run so much. Well, I'm happy. Glad. I'm glad to hear that. Thank you. That was like the first one that I added like a bunch of extra stuff, because I basically made an entire document in Persona 5 about all of the Arcanas. And since I played the original game before I had a YouTube channel, I knew the stories that were going to be told around these different Arcana characters in the social links. So what I did is I went and looked up what all of the Arcanas meant for the tarot, and then I wrote down what each tarot meant, and then I wrote down how they connected with the story of that character, so that when we were going through the game, when it came up the first time, I would talk about what the tarot was, and then when we got to the max confidant rank, I would talk about how it related to the character. And I had an entire document written out. And so like I put a bunch of extra time into that playthrough, and I'm glad that people enjoyed it because of that and felt like they got a lot out of it. I was really happy that was actually something that people enjoyed about the playthrough. Thunderstrike, I figured that'd be your pick. Yeah, it's just a great moment. Stood out, you know? Let's see. Orderman Super BG3 took me back to RPGs again and sent in the soundtrack while fighting Raphael is the best moment in this year. Yeah, and that episode hasn't come out yet. I've completed my entire recordings of BG3, but the Raphael moment, for those of you who don't know, Oh, it's so good. It's so good. You're not going to want to miss it. So keep watching VG3. Literally, my series is going to be 174 episodes, I think is what it is. That's how many episodes it's going to be before it's done, and we're at 104 or something like that. It's going to be a long series, but it's such a good game all the way through, and that Raphael moment kicks so much ass. It's so good. All right. Let's see. Flawed and not perfect, can't sleep, so here I am. Yep, just hang out in the stream. Let the Persona music lull you to sleep. Let's see, still bitter about the ranking of Sylvain that low when you did the ranking video. Yeah, some people may not even know that I did a character ranking video. If you go to the end of my full Fire Emblem Three Houses playlist, down at the bottom there's 2 videos that are my ranking of all of the characters. And Sylvain wasn't actually that low, if I remember correctly. I think he was C or higher. A lot of people were upset about where I put Ferdinand, which I'm not going to spoil here. But, you know, if you want to know what I rank those characters and you haven't seen those videos, go and watch them and see where I rank those characters. I do explain for pretty much all of them why I think why I place them where I place them, so. Let's see. Cameron says the Arcana summaries were peak. Yes, nailed it. All right. Still love your P5R playthrough. It's still one of my favorites too. Yeah, still one of my favorites. Let's see. It's almost 1 a.m., but I don't want to miss anything. Live is more fun than watching back anyways, huh? Well, hopefully you don't have, like, school or work or something early in the morning, Fenicky. Don't hurt yourself on my account. You can watch the rest of it in the VOD later if you need to. But yeah, I put a lot of work into that tier list, so if any of you haven't seen it, go and watch it. I put a lot of work into that one. Question, Sir Analog, do you prefer commentary over face cam? 100%. I understand when you're live streaming, it's fully expected that you have a face cam. So when I live stream, I always make sure that there's a face cam involved. The only other time I've ever used it is when I played a 3DS game. It was Echoes, Fire Emblem Echo Shadows of Valentia. I used a face cam in that because of the 2 screens, I had some extra real estate to put the face cam in it. But otherwise, I don't like the face cams being in just regular videos, Let's Play videos, because they cover up something at all times. And I personally don't like that myself, so I don't do it in my own content. So that's why I don't do that. I know some people would like it if I did do that, but frankly, I also, as an introvert, don't really emote that much anyways. Like, you get to hear in my voice kind of like what my emotions are, but my actual emoting is not all that involved when I'm playing anyway. And sometimes when I record, I'm kind of like in a tired state because I come home from work and stuff. I don't want to be on camera necessarily, but I can still enjoy and react to the game without necessarily, I don't know, it feels different when a camera's in front of you. It just does for me. And it's more draining. It actually like drains me more. So like doing live streams and doing this right now, like I'm going to be way more tired than I would if I did, you know, I'm 2 hours into this live stream. Oh my gosh, I'm 2 hours into this live stream. I lost my train of thought. I can't believe I'm 2 hours into this. But like, I'm going to feel more drained doing this than I would doing 2 hours playing a game with my normal just commentary without, you know, chat and whatnot. So let's see. Almost 8 a.m. here in Mongolia. Ooh. Currently at work. Don't get yourself in trouble, Ray. Don't get yourself in trouble on my account. If you're allowed to, great. All right. Have a tough question, but I feel like AV is the best person to ask. How do I get into Fire Emblem or tactical strategy games in general? I love watching your videos, but can't get into them for myself. My entry, and, you know, like, gatekeepers are going to tell you all sorts of things, and I will never be the person who does this. So what I'm going to tell you right now is exactly what I did. find whichever game kind of like seems like the most interesting to you. Like Three Houses right now is a pretty popular one. I would also recommend Echoes, Shadows of Valentia on the 3DS, or Awakening. Or sometimes you may not have access to that if you can't, get access to a 3DS or be able to emulate it. But whichever game you choose to do it with, play it on easy first. You don't have to be good at the game yet. I wasn't. I played Awakening the first time on easy. Not even normal, but easy. Because I was nervous about getting into it. I did the same thing with Persona. Persona 4 Golden, the first time I played it on easy. Because I was intimidated by the game. It was well known for being difficult, and for turn-based tactics games, those are known for needing strategy to be successful. And I was not confident in my ability because I'd never played any of them before. So I played both of those series the first time on their easiest difficulty. And then I loved Persona 4 Golden so much, I played it again and played it on normal. And I did the same thing with Awakening. I played it again and I played it on normal. You want to know what? I never played games on hard until I started doing YouTube. I didn't do it. But playing it on easy, then playing it on normal, and now I'm doing it on YouTube and playing it on hard. But that's not where I started. You can't just jump into a new genre like that and be perfect at it right away. So that's what I would say. Like, find one that thematically and story-wise seems like it's going to be intriguing to you, and then play it on its easy difficulty. And a lot of those games, not all of them, but some games will allow you to change the difficulty while you're playing it. So if you find yourself getting comfortable with it as you go on, then you just turn up the difficulty and keep going. So that's what I would recommend. Don't let anybody tell you, oh, if you're not playing on hard, you're not real players. You got to start somewhere. And I started on easy. I'm not afraid to admit it. Let's see. Mr. P1234 just wanted to stop in and say congrats on 10K. Thank you. You're always in the comments, so I'm happy to see you in the chat here for the live. All right. So where do we leave off on these questions? Favorite Fire Emblem moment? What is your favorite game to let's play? What was or is? Out of all the series? Ooh, that's a tough one. Obviously Three Houses. I did all 3 routes on that one, so I really had a fun time with that. Final Fantasy VII and Persona 4 Golden, I did those before anybody was watching my channel at all. And I enjoyed those. Like, any Persona game, any Fire Emblem game, I'm enjoying it for the most part. I think Engage has been a disappointment this year, but every other Fire Emblem game that I've played on channel, I've really, really enjoyed. I don't know if I can pick a singular favorite, because I mostly just play what I like to play, so I don't know if there's a single one that's my favorite. If it comes down to the one that it means the most to me, it's got to be Three Houses, simply because that's what launched the channel. Nobody was watching my channel until Three Houses took off, and then the algorithm allowed people to find my channel through that playthrough, and so that one will always be important to me. So I think in a way it might be that one, just simply because it was such an important one for the channel. Let's see. My name is Cyril. What made you want to be a professor? I think I covered this one already, is that I didn't plan on being a professor. It was an accident. So if Cyril, if you're here in the comments and you missed earlier on, I did answer this earlier in the questionnaire and explained that basically I kind of just accidented into a professorship. They probably shouldn't have even given it to me, but they gave it to me and I ain't giving it back. So I'm keeping it. Also, have you seen the greatest piece of fiction of all time, aka Jujutsu Kaisen? I have seen that it's all over social media right now because of whatever episode just happened. Some crazy shit went down. I haven't watched it yet. I have it on my watch list. I think it's on Hulu right now. And it's on my watch list, but I haven't watched any Jujutsu Kaisen yet. But, Mappa, they crushed it with Chainsaw Man, they crushed it with Attack on Titan, so I believe that Jujutsu Kaisen is probably damn worth watching. Just haven't gotten into it yet. GamerLord02, what's your favorite type of restaurant? Sushi. Easy. I love sushi. There's a really nice sushi place near me on our state street, and I love going there with my friends, and it's some of the best sushi. I'm landlocked, but this is the best place that I can get being landlocked and not near the ocean. And I love getting a bottle of sake for the table. Nigiri sake for the table. Probably going to do it for my birthday in January, and it's going to be great. I love sushi. Do you hope that we'll get a remake of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War in 2024? I would love that. I have not played Genealogy of the Holy War. I know it's a favorite for a lot of people. I know that it's quite different from a lot of other ones. Much longer maps, huge amounts of enemy units, things like that, and is known for being quite difficult. I would love to see that, or I would love to see Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance remakes. I think those would be the top of my lists of when it comes to the remakes, is one of those two. All right, just gonna check chat, see if there's any follow-up questions or anything. Yeah, Mappa's in a bit of trouble right now. Yeah, I heard that. They're overworking their animators. A common problem in anime studios, but yeah, it sounds like it's pretty bad for them right now. Savage, just wanted to drop by and say congrats on the 10K subs. Thank you, Savage. Glad you dropped in. Let's see. So we answered those. Tante, favorite book series, Wheel of Time. That's another one that we've already answered. So Wheel of Time, and I really like a lot of Stephen King stuff. So like The Stand is a classic of Stephen King's. It's a big sprawling epic and covers a whole bunch of different characters. I think Stephen King is really good at making interesting characters. He's a very good character writer. And a lot of people only think that he does horror, and he does a lot more than horror. And just go and read The Stand. It's such a good book. It's very long, but it's very good. And then, yeah, Wheel of Time for fantasy series. Fantastic series. Go and read it. If aliens landed on Earth and offered to take you to their planet, would you go? Nope. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is coming out. No, I'm not going. Are they going to have Rebirth on their planet? If so, maybe I'll think about it, but no. Rebirth is here, okay? Persona 3 Reload, ReFantazio, it's all here. Okay? Alright. Let's see. Thanks for the advice, AV. I love RPGs like Pokemon, Persona, Final Fantasy, Mass Effect, Souls, etc., and I am usually pretty good at them, but somehow the grid kinda puts me off. Yeah, I think that, like, it's one of those things that you don't know you're gonna like until you know that you like it. And the thing is that most people who jump into it end up liking it. I didn't think that I would like it either. And then I can't even remember how I found out about Awakening. I think like it was getting good reviews at the time, and I knew that a demo had come out on the 3DS. And so I downloaded the demo, and I was like, well, it got good reviews. I'll try this out. And I loved the demo, and I bought it immediately. Didn't think I was going to like it because it was on a grid. It's this, strategy tactics game. But I loved it. And I continue to love the series ever since. And I remember, I used to play Final Fantasy Tactics. I had that for a long time, but I was terrible at it, right? And so maybe that's why I thought I would be bad at this too, but I played that when I was too young to understand how to play a tactics game. That changed with time, and then now I love Final Fantasy Tactics. Well, I always loved Final Fantasy Tactics, but I was bad at it. That was the key. Let's see. We've got Wolfie Hearts. I don't know if that's how that's pronounced, but what was the reasoning behind you starting a gaming channel? It came down to this. I was already heavily invested in multimedia. I knew that video was something that I had a great passion about. And I was already playing video games a lot. And why not turn that thing that some people might view as a waste of time, which I don't believe it's a waste of time. I think there's a lot of value to video gaming. Whether you're, there's a lot of value to video gaming inherently. But there are a lot of people out there who will convince you that you're just wasting your time, right? And I just decided to turn it into a hobby that I would invest more time into. if I was going to be doing this anyway, if I was going to be playing the video games anyway, why not try putting them up online and seeing what happens? So that's what I did. I knew how to edit, I knew how to generate content, so why not put those skills to use and turn it into a hobby and maybe see if it turns into anything. And I'm monetized now, so it did turn into something. We're still small in the grand scheme of the YouTube ecosystem, but like I'm proud of what I've done here. So that's why I did it. It's just like, well, I would be playing video games anyway. So I already know how to create content and I want to play video games. So why not turn it into content? That's what it came down to. Let's see, Savage asks, are you going to play action games in the future? If yes, what are they? Yeah, definitely. Like, when the next Spider-Man game comes out, I'm gonna play that. When the next God of War game comes out, I'm gonna play that. If they come out with another Ghost of Tsushima, I'm gonna play that. It's like, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is technically an action game, I'm gonna play that. Whatever Naughty Dog comes out with, I'm gonna play that. So yes, for sure, they're gonna be smaller on the channel. I know that I don't get as much viewership from them when I put them out on this channel, just because people don't come here for that necessarily, but that's not going to stop me from making them, so I'm just going to keep doing it. Let's see. Mr. P1234, are there any video game series you're not into that you wish you could get into? As somebody Darren was recommending me to play Star Ocean in one of his questions. I would love to get into that at some point. Let's see, other video game series that I wish I could get into. Sort of related, but I think I mentioned this earlier, but I wish that I was better at simulation games and like city building games and like things like Planet Coaster, like park creating games, because I love consuming that content and I love playing those games, but I don't feel like I'm good enough at them to make interesting content myself. So I wish that I was good at those skills and a little bit more creative in those games so that I can make content on YouTube of it, but I don't feel like I'm talented enough to do it. So little bit tangentially related, but have you played any of the FromSoft games? I'm playing Bloodborne for the first time right now and absolutely loving it. Bloodborne's my favorite. Out of the Souls games, I'm not super into them. I tend to prefer to play video games that don't stress me out, and FromSoft games are designed to be difficult and challenging, which some people find great satisfaction in. It's not usually my favorite thing. Like, obviously I find difficulty in the genres that I prefer to be cathartic, so like I play plenty of RPGs on harder modes, but when it comes to things that are like Twitch based, that you have just, I don't know, if it's more of like a timing and skill based thing, it tends to stress me out pretty quickly, and Bloodborne is the only one that I've been able to get into and actually beat. I love Bloodborne, and mostly it's because of the aesthetic. I love noir-esque stuff, and you know, basically that game is very, very gothic, and I loved it to death. It still stressed me out, but the aesthetic and the story around that one was way more intriguing to me than any of the other FromSoft games. So I love Bloodborne. I played a little bit of Dark Souls 3, didn't get super far. I think I got to right past the boss that is the room of all of the people who keep raising from the dead. It's like a whole bunch of people. I can't remember what the boss is called, but I got past that boss but didn't continue past that. Let's see. Got the platinum on Elden Ring? That's an accomplishment. Well done. Alright. Let's go back. So we've got right here. So break it. Top 3 songs from Atlas games. SMT, Persona, Soul Hackers. You know, we've been having them play in the background here. I really like Heaven from Persona 4 Golden. Looking at my list, Rivers in the Desert from Persona 5. And sometimes I don't remember the names. Obviously, the Poem for Everyone's Soul is classic. Always love to hear it. Last Surprise is always iconic. Beneath the Mask, the Rain edition, the super like calm one, is like some of the best chill Persona music ever made. But yeah, that's just a few. There's more, but whatever the end song is for Persona 3, that one's super emotional, but I never remember the name of it. But the Persona 3 song that ends, that one's so good. That one's so good. Somebody in the comments maybe can pull the name of that one out, because I don't know it. We've got Dragon 445, or Drag 445. There we go. Are you going to play Persona 3 Reload? Yes. Yes, I am. 100%. I kind of wish they would have announced it around the same time that they announced the Persona 3 Portable, because I may have not done the Persona 3 Portable playthrough. I'm happy that I did it, but these games are going to be so close together that I wonder if some people won't come out to watch Reload because I just did Portable. But, you know, Atlas is being Atlas. They do weird things sometimes, but Reload, I'm going to be playing that day one, 100%. Memories of You would be the P3 song that you're thinking of. It 100% is. Yes. That song is easily top 3. Easily. I love that song to death. Yeah. I think you even mentioned that Thunderstrike during the pre-show when it came on, but I couldn't find it in the list. So, but yeah, such a good song. Let's see. Okay, and then we're into the questions that came from Twitter. We've got Yan Ray. We're almost to the end, actually. So, how old is Winston? He was a rescue, and they don't know how old he was exactly. So he's estimated to be around 10 or 11 years old, maybe 11 to 12. He's getting on the older side, so he's getting old. And for those of you who may have missed it, Winston is my pug. He's currently in his bed right at my feet right now. How's the kitties and doggo doing nowadays? They're doing great. In fact, all of them are sleeping right now. We got 2 of them sleeping over here, and I got 1 of them at my feet. But they're doing great. How many games just made you go, that's it, I'm done, and drop it? Not many, honestly. I did that with New Leaf, Animal Crossing. I don't like Animal Crossing that much. I love Stardew Valley. It's one of my favorite sort of like chill games of all time. And I wanted to play something similar, and a lot of people were telling me to play Animal Crossing. And I hate the tie to real time with Animal Crossing. I absolutely hate it. I hate the idea of a game where you come back and do little chores just for a little bit each day. That's not the way I like to consume games. So I know it's a beloved series, it's just not for me. So I dropped that one like a hard rock and felt like I wasted $60. Because I bought it for full price and it was not worth it for me personally. So. Yeah, Ray, you've had your name in different things, different places, but yeah. That's what it shows up on your Twitter, so I just copied and pasted it. Let's see. But yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any other games that I've just like straight up dropped super hard. I usually don't drop hard. I usually just kind of like fall off because of time or getting busy and things like that. There aren't that many that make me super angry, you know? But I don't know, some of you share yours in the comments and maybe they'll line up with something that I forgot. So let's see. Okay. Favorite and least liked SMT game that you have played. Okay. Favorite SMT game. I like 3, 4, and 5 all for very different reasons. I love the comfort of the cast in 4 and the vibes that one gives off. I love the themes of 3, and 5 obviously has the most like gameplay improvements and also is pretty good at both the cast and the story. I can't pick a favorite, I don't think. I don't think I can pick a favorite because they're all beloved by me for different reasons. If I had to rank one for having kind of the most full package, it would be 5, just because I feel like while the cast I don't think gels quite as strongly as in 4 and 3. They still gel incredibly well. The story and themes are really well articulated, and the gameplay is obviously the best iteration of the gameplay that's ever happened. And then you look at 4 and 3, and the dungeons are pretty subpar. But their themes, stories, and characters are all really, really strong. So don't make me pick a favorite. Least liked SMT game. Least gameplay-wise, I'm gonna preface this by saying that I haven't hated any of them. I haven't hated any of them. But gameplay-wise, I think the smirk system in SMT4 is the one that has made me the most angry. I think that there could have been another pass on the balance of that game, and I think that the smirk mechanic, I hate it. I really do. I hate it. So there's just something about the battle system in that game that rubs me the wrong way more often than not. But it's not a bad game, and I think it has a fantastic story. So don't get me wrong. I love it. But there it is. Let's see. Side note, what is this song and what is it from? It may have moved on to the next song. They're all from Persona. So if it's the one that's currently playing, it's Tokyo Daylight from Persona 5. And if it was the song before this one... it's called Another Version, and that one's from Persona 4 original soundtrack. But yeah, all of these songs are either from Persona 3, 4, or 5. Darren York, lol, the smirk smacks were horrible. Yeah, I started calling them smirk smacks in my playthrough. Because once the smirk happens, you're basically done. You're just gonna reload. You're dead. But yeah. Consistently made me angry, the smirk mechanic. Okay. And greetings, Professor. Hope you're doing well. Thank you, Ray. I am doing well. And then from Fen, who I think you might still be in here. I know it was getting late for you, but I still have your questions here, Fen. I do. What made you want to start uploading game playthroughs on YouTube, and what is it you like the most about doing it? So I kind of already answered that first question. It's just basically like I had the skills to do it. I was playing video games anyway. May as well make it content, see where it goes. What is it you like most about doing it? I love having intelligent conversations about character development. So the games that really lean into that, I love getting into the comments and talking about the characters. I got to do that a lot with Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I get to do that a lot in the Persona series and things like that. So like, I love having like discourse that isn't toxic, you know what I mean? And I feel like I've cultivated a pretty good community where for the most part we do that. And so I love having those conversations in the comments, sometimes incorporating it into the videos later on where I can talk about things that have come up in the comments and things like that. But I love that type of discourse, and I just like playing video games. So that's the other part of it that I really enjoy. I'm just having a good time playing the video games that I love to play and sharing them with people. And it's actually really rewarding when people just say that they enjoy it, you know? Like, in the grand scheme of things, I'm just talking while playing video games, and people come back and say, man, like, this helped me through a hard time, or, you know, like, I'm really enjoying this playthrough. And it's wild to think that people actually care, you know what I mean? Like, in such a large world and where people are so angry all the time, like, it's just nice to hear that people care and are enjoying something that I put out, and that I'm doing. So, like, that's really rewarding for me. Every once in a while, things can get a little bit toxic, but the bad actors usually are just that. They're just bad actors. And there's only a few of them in the community, and we purge them and they're gone, and that's all there is. So, but yeah, I really do appreciate kind of just like my community and being able to engage in those conversations about the games. Talk about things critically without being rude about it, you know what I mean? Like, I love talking about things critically and like reasoning through like what they're doing with the storytelling and whatnot. And without people having to get mad about it. And sometimes people do, but most of the time, all of us are really, really reasonable about it, so. Thunderstrike says, I think the only game I've ever dropped because it ticked me off was, funnily enough, Bloodborne. I tried it years ago and couldn't get past Cleric Beast. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that. Gaze says, mature discussions are something I really enjoy about all sorts of media. Yeah, yeah. And I think, like, some people want to be angry on the internet, and I've always just... I am not always unangry when I'm playing video games. You guys have seen me get angry at video games, but, like, when we actually have, like, discourse about it and stuff, like, we don't have to be angry about it, right? And I try to keep the negativity out of the channel. Sometimes I'm negative playing a game, and like I don't like that about myself, that occasionally I do get angry at a video game and that comes through in my commentary. I don't want that necessarily, so I do try to be as positive as possible. Obviously I've failed occasionally, but I do try and make sure that things stay as positive as they can be as much as possible. And definitely when we have discourse about topics, I definitely try to cultivate that. And you guys all help me with that, you know? So I love that. Let's see. Spoopy dropped Tales of Vesperia. It's a lot of people's favorite Tales of game, but even after 20 hours, it just never clicked with me. I played it through Tales of Vesperia when it came out on the Switch, and Tales of Arise, I think, is a fantastic game. Tales of Vesperia, I enjoyed it all right, but I do think that, like, after hearing, like, so many people praise it and thinking it's such a fantastic game, I think it may have been overhyped for me by the time I played it, and I was like, well, it's good, but maybe it was just better at the time that it came out, and to today's standards, it's just very competent. Very, very competent, which it is. It is totally competent. Mr. P1234, I think your negativity is pretty productive at least. Also, sometimes it's funny, like Engage. Yeah, and honestly, like, the Engage stuff, like, that's just, like, there's a level of critique that, like, is going to be negative by nature, but doesn't have to necessarily be mean. And I think that I tried to make it fun with Engage. You know, like, giving Alfred manure as a gift because the developers gave me that opportunity was just something funny that I like to do. And still there was at least one person who was like, seriously upset that I kept doing that. And I felt bad because this person just was telling me, like, this is so upsetting to me. You don't understand how important this character is to me. And I'm like, I understand that you have feelings about this. You can't place those feelings. You can't place that burden on me, though. Like, I don't have to have the same emotional investment in this character that you do. I'm just having a bit of fun. But, you know, some people are just, you know, if they're really, really attached to a certain character or thing, they're going to react negatively to that. Even though I was just having a bit of fun. But I did a lot of stuff like that in Engage, and it really got the rise out of a select few individuals. But, yeah. I try not to be overtly negative. Like, I'm not going to go to that person and be like, well, your opinion is shit. I'm more like, well, have your opinion, but don't make me try to have your opinion. That sort of thing. Angie Vernac is fun, says Ray. All right, well, there's that at least. Okay, so I think that answered Fenn's question. And we have HLLJ. What's your top 3 favorite anime, my good sir? Good question. I'm not going to do a top 3, and I'm not going to rank them in any specific order. I'm just going to name off some of the ones that mean a lot to me. Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, made by the same creator. Some stuff by Satoshi Kon. Perfect Blue is a fantastic anime. Very disturbing, but very, very well made. Really good writing, good characters. Just Satoshi Kon, you know. Yeah. It's Satoshi Kon, okay? No more needs to be said. Let's see. When it comes to more modern stuff, I think that Attack on Titan has been very, very good. I know that not everybody's going to be pleased with the ending, and I have my own qualms a little bit with the ending, but I think overall, I think that it was critical in the right places. I don't think that it glorified any particular groups. I think that it was pretty negative on the whole concept of the conflicts that were happening on all sides of that conflict. I don't conflate it to some of the real-world politics that some people do, so I thought Attack on Titan was really, really solid storytelling. So, I really like Attack on Titan. Death Note is a classic for me. But yeah, I honestly don't get to watch that many anime. Cyberpunk Edge Runners was really good. I loved that. But yeah, I don't get to watch all that many anime, and I can be pretty picky when it comes to anime. I think that there are too many tropes that are too prevalent in the scene of anime that really annoy me. And I think that they could grow up a little bit in some areas, but anime is such a wide beast that I just have to find the ones that are at the maturity level that I'm willing to accept, basically. So, I'm not out there watching a bunch of like comedy harem animes. But that being said, if you don't think that you're into romantic comedy animes, I think that Love is War, Kaguya-sama, is fantastic. So if you don't think you're going to enjoy them, I generally don't myself, but I really, really love that show. It's so funny. It's really well written. So that would be my recommendation when it comes to romantic comedies, is Love is War is great. I have not watched Violet Evergarden, so I see Violet Evergarden showing up there. It's been in my list for a long time, and I really, really want to watch it. I've heard nothing but good things. I know for a fact I'm going to love that one when I watch it. So, let's see. Mr. P, I think after Three Houses, people get a little too parasocial with FE characters. A little bit, yeah. That's always been the case in a lot of anime fandoms. I think Three Houses, specifically because it makes you choose a side, I think it did silo that a little bit more. That's just an anime fandom issue, I think. It's a cultural issue that needs to be solved, but it was emphasized more because of the choices. Because of the fact that you're choosing a house, it siloed that a little bit more. The Anger and Engage was kind of fun, honestly. I had fun with it. It was in a way a coping mechanism because the story was so bad that I had to find fun somehow in that game. The gameplay's good, don't get me wrong. Fates has really good gameplay. Engage has really good gameplay. No Fire Emblem has ever failed at the gameplay. But yeah, when it came to the story and writing and stuff, I had to find some fun in it or I was going to lose my mind. And I have to be critical of the storytelling because I want to make sure that we're being critical of things that are subpar so that hopefully that, it's as a content creator, I may be small, right? I don't have a big influence on the scene and amongst like Fire Emblem as a community as a whole. I'm still very small, but I do think that as communities in these fandoms, when something is bad, we need to be able to call it out. Because we know that like Nintendo companies won't fix things unless the shoe drops. So we need to make sure that the shoe drops where the shoe needs to drop. And the shoe needed to drop on Engage because they definitely did not do the work to make a competently written game. And I think that they need to be called out on it when that happens. It's a series that I love deeply, and the gameplay was absolutely solid in that game, but we don't need to excuse the bad writing. That's how I felt about that game, so yeah. Let's see. So yeah, haven't watched Violet Evergarden. I should. For some reason, I can't get into Love is War. Ray Moto. Yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. I absolutely loved it. Comedy is such a specific thing, and different styles of comedy work better for some people and not others. Kaguya-sama somehow was just like, it nailed it for me. The comedy was on point for what I like, I guess. Have I seen Evangelion or Berserk? Yes, both. I mentioned it earlier, but I have every single special edition of the Berserk manga that's currently out. Another one's about to come out in this month, I think. So let me go and grab those. So. Yeah, these deluxe editions. There's like 14 of them out right now. I think it's 14, but this one's 7. But yeah, maybe I should be careful opening this. There's a lot of nudity in the series, so let's not get myself demonetized. But Berserk, I've read it all. I love Berserk. So sad that he passed away. And Evangelion, yeah, I watched that way earlier in my life than I probably had any right to understand anything that was going on, but I do like Evangelion. But yeah. Let's see. Thunderstrike, Engage really does feel like the second coming of Fates. The story is so bad, but the gameplay is some of the best in the series. Yeah, Fates had really, really good gameplay. Like, it's wild that, like, you know, Fire Emblem just doesn't miss when it comes to the gameplay. I think that's the key, is, like, it's such a good formula for the gameplay that, like, no matter what they do, the gameplay is going to be good, probably. And they just need to get that writing down on some of these entries, you know? I actually think that in the end, and I would have to play Fates again to fully decide on this. But I was so disheartened by the end of the Engage DLC that I think that as an overall package, I think that Engage might be the bottom of my Fire Emblem list. I think it may have dropped below Fates at this point. Maybe that's a crazy thing to say, but I think that's how I feel. And maybe it's just because recency bias and because I had such negative feelings about the DLC, which did so many things so badly wrong. Maybe it's just recency bias, but like, I don't know, like Fates swung for it with the writing and failed miserably, whereas I think Engage just decided to shit the bed entirely. They didn't even try. But I don't know. What do you all think? Let me know. Let's see. Yeah, these deluxe, and like I said, there's like 14 of these right now. So, and yeah, been loving collecting these. But yeah, so we're at the end of the submitted questions. So maybe we'll just see if there are any final questions that are here in chat. And then we're going to end this thing. This went so much longer than I expected it to. I was like, yeah, this will maybe go like an hour 15, hour 30 at most. And we are at 2 hours and 40 minutes now. So, but yeah, maybe I'll give it a moment here, see if anybody has any final questions before we move on. Thunderstrike, I actually can't believe I'm saying this, but I have to agree with you. I hate Fates as a game, but at least it was ambitious with its ideas. Engage just felt like an excuse for fan service. The person who wrote Fates, what he did is he basically made an entire outline for the overall story and then basically handed it over to Intelligent Systems. And then Intelligent Systems internally had a big old fight on whether they wanted it to be more serious or more lighthearted. And so there was an internal struggle between the two, and they ended up basically forming a Frankenstein out of the original plot lines that were created for Fates. So the actual writing of Fates will never know if it was as bad as it ended up being in the game, but what I suspect happened is that it was a very, very comprehensive outline for the stories that was then bastardized by Intelligent Systems after it was given to them. I don't know if that's completely true or not, but that's my impression of what happened. And so it seems like there was a competent writer that originally outlined it, given to Intelligent Systems, who took that and through their incompetence destroyed it. Whereas Engage, they just decided not to try. There is a difference between a competently simple story, Fire Emblem Awakening, and an incompetent simple story. And I think a lot of the Engage defenders are getting those two confused. They think that every Fire Emblem is simple, but that's not the only thing that's there. Simple can be competently written around engaging characters and interesting characters. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that every Awakening character is engaging and deep and complex, but most of them are. And that's not the case with Engage. They didn't make a deep world, they didn't make deep characters, and they didn't make a deep plot. They made a complicated plot at times that contradicted itself a lot of the time, but they made an incompetent simple story, whereas Awakening was a very, very competent simple story. There is a difference in my eyes, but I'm gonna get off my high horse now, because yeah, when people try to conflate Awakening and say that Engage is the same thing, I don't know why, but that it gets me going. And because there's so many issues with that argument, it's not that easy to boil down. You know what I mean? Let's see. I got a little bit distracted there. Let's get back to the questions. Let's see. Engage DLC was almost shockingly bad. Yeah. And I think that, weirdly enough, there's usually a lot of discourse that, conflicts within the community of Fire Emblem, but almost every single content creator that consumed the DLC was basically on the same page with that DLC. It was insane how poorly they made that DLC. But yeah. And yeah, I totally don't blame anybody for finding the main game charming enough for them, but as somebody who values writing and storytelling and character development, there was nothing there for me, so I couldn't be charmed by it. Alright, so Bad Yoraz, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Question, did you ever play Pokemon Conquest or an Advance Wars games? Advance Wars, yes. Pokemon Conquest, no. I played 1 and 2 of Advance Wars, not the remakes that recently came out, but I actually played them on the Game Boy Advance. Haven't played it in a long time. I thought about doing a playthrough of Advance Wars, but then when it got delayed, when it did finally come out, it was obviously at a bad time. I didn't have time in my schedule to do it, so. Fenneke, can you sing a lullaby? I'll need to sleep soon. Lol. Nobody wants to hear me sing. Trust me, give you nightmares. So I'm doing you a favor. Ray says it was fun. Glad you enjoyed the questionnaire, but yeah. Let's see. Here's one I saved from my wall of text, says Thunderstrike. If you could only play one game for the rest of your life, what would you choose? If you're making me choose one game that I feel like I could extrapolate into enjoyment for an insane amount of my lifetime, it might be Stardew Valley, which might be a surprising take from a lot of you, but honestly, Stardew Valley is probably a top 10 game of all time for me. It's infinitely replayable, and you can do it in so many different ways, and it's just relaxing. So if you're making me choose just one, that one has great replayability, it's super calming, so it's just a great game to play to chill out, so it might be Stardew Valley. Hajime says, honestly, some parts of Fates made me mad. Yes. No question, 100% yes. Me too. I think that I had more moments like that in Engage, though. Okay. I'm super far behind. Let's see, where are we? Just seeing if there are questions in here. Didn't know that about Fates. Yeah. Fates had a lot of missed opportunities. Yes, it did. It dropped the ball more often than it didn't. I actually think Engage isn't simple and that its main issue, the morality is simple, yeah, but the story tries to be too much. Yeah, and that's the contradiction of that game, is they want both. They want it to be simple and then they want it to be complex when they want it to be complex. So at times, even the developers are saying, we're trying to make a simple story here. And then they contradict themselves in certain story moments. I think both are true in a way, which is weird, but they wanted their cake and to eat it too. The child dimension in Fates, yeah. Hey, we're gonna send your children into this other dimension, they're gonna grow up. How does that work? How did they learn? How did they grow up? Who was raising them? I don't know, but so weird. If anybody doesn't know about the child dimension in Fates, basically, when your character's hooked up, you sent them into another dimension to grow up so that they could be units that you could fight without a time skip. It was weird. It was fucking weird. Tsunami just popped in, but since you're on the topic, what is your favorite Fire Emblem? Personally, I'm on the Three Houses wave. It's between Three Houses and Awakening for two different reasons. Awakening was my first, and Three Houses was the one that launched my channel. And I like them both for different reasons, but don't make me pick one! But yeah, Three Houses is very, very important to me for a lot of personal reasons and that have a lot to do with this channel. I do think that they had some very, very interesting and deep character-involved writing that I really, really appreciate. And Awakening is just so important to me as being the first one that I played, and I do think that it's a very, very competent, simple story. I think that it was very, very emotional when it needed to be, and it was competent in the way that it handled having those emotional moments. Bantu Bean, Persona music shivers. Yep, me too. All the time, always. If I won a lottery and had a lot of time on my hands, I would watch all the Persona LPs back to back. If we all had all the time in the world, what would we do with it? Yeah. Let's see. I think Awakening has a lot of heart and emotion in the right places. Yes, exactly. That's why it's so good, and Gage doesn't. Yeah, it's misplaced, right? I think that they had certain moments that they wanted to hit. They were like, okay, we've got this really, really important moment with Mom, and how we get there doesn't matter, but we're gonna make sure that this moment feels impactful, but they didn't earn it, so it doesn't work. There's another moment with some of the villains that later on that actually, like, the scene itself is a well-crafted scene with these two villains who are basically passing away, without going too much into spoilers. And it was a really, really well-written scene that wasn't earned through previous writing and writing that happened afterwards. So once again, it didn't work. So I feel like they wrote moments that were good if they were built too properly. Weird thing. They did some weird shit in that game. Like, Engage, man, like, come on. Ugh. Let's see. Darren says, congratulations again. Thank you very much, Darren. Thank you. Stardew Valley is a great choice. Don't I know it? Figured you'd go for BG3, honestly. Honestly, super replayable, but like when it comes to like something that is just a universal chill good time, Stardew Valley hits that on the head. So when you're asking me for something that I have to play as the only thing for the rest of my life, like BG3 is good, but you're eventually going to get tired of that. And I think that Stardew Valley has a loop that is eternal in a way, if that's even possible. You'd get tired of anything after enough time, but, you know. If you're able to change one game, story ending, what would that be and how would you change it? That's a tough question. I honestly mostly take things as they come. I actually don't like applying my own ideas to things that much. I generally am trying to understand what the writers are trying to thematically say, and if they are able to thematically try and say something, even if I disagree with it, I respect it, in a way. That's why when Engage doesn't have themes to like build around and they don't have anything that ties together in a meaningful way, I'm not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt in their writing. But whereas like when I look at The Last of Us Part 2, they built that game around certain ideas and they did it intelligently and they did it through the medium of the gameplay itself. And therefore I took it as it was, didn't apply my own thoughts to it. I obviously felt lots of emotions as I went through that game, lots of negative and positive emotions as I went through that game. But because it was a story and a theme that they couldn't build around in anything other than a video game, I thought that it was really, really effective. And a lot of people hated that game because they wanted certain things from it, right? But I don't like to apply my own wants to a game. I like to take it as an artistic vision from somebody else and experience it as that. And I think that's why I come to disagree with a lot of people on some very divisive storytelling games. The Last of Us Part 2 being one of them. If you guys want to understand more about where I'm coming from that, you can watch my playthrough of that game. It wasn't popular on the channel because, once again, people aren't watching my action games on the channel that much. But I feel like through the course of that game, I explain my feeling on that in a little bit more detail. That's hard to go into here without going deep into spoilers and spending 2 hours talking about it. But that was a fascinating game for me to play because I actually absolutely loved that as an experience of a game, because it made me experience and feel things in a different way that no game has ever been able to do. And I greatly respect that in a video game medium, because not everybody's trying to do that. And I don't blame anybody for not enjoying an experience like The Last of Us 2, but I thought it was absolutely fascinating. So, when Alir dies twice in 2 chapters, oh my gosh, the writers in that game couldn't commit to a single plot point for 2 seconds without undoing it immediately. Okay, we don't need to get into it though. All right. Let's see. So where did I leave off on that? How did I get onto that tangent? Let's see. Oh yeah, that was about changing the story of an... Yeah, that was Ray's question, I think. Flawed but not perfect. Not a question I know. Call it selfish request, because this game was swept under the radar since last year, November. My favorite horror game till this day. What are we referring to there? Oh, from your previous comment. A horror game called Signals. Never heard of it, honestly. I don't like horror games that much for the most part. The closest I've gotten to them is probably The Last of Us. But I don't play a lot of horror games, but not really my genre of choice. Let's see. So Gaze says the biggest problem with Engage story-wise was that it felt like they couldn't decide what they wanted to do. Once again, I wonder if they had internal conflict in some of their director versus writers and things like that, like they had with Fates. They need to figure that out. When they handed it over to the, who was it that did the Three Houses stuff? Because they had, honestly, Intelligent System did not have a lot to do with Three Houses in the grand scheme of things. And it was mostly the Dynasty Warriors group that did it. I'm forgetting which group, but if their writing team was the ones that were mostly involved with that, like they should do more contract writing work with them. That's what I'm saying. Thunderstrike, one last question. Thoughts on the Nier games? Would you ever play them on the channel? I still haven't finished Nier Automata, which might sound crazy to some people, but that game has so many different play styles, and the fact that it asks you to play certain portions of it multiple times through quote-unquote multiple playthroughs was a difficult ask for me. I do want to play Nier Automata in its entirety at some point. And if I did do that, it would probably be on channel. And it would have to be on channel to encourage me to get through those moments of repeat play. Because it's hard for me to do that on my own without having the channel sort of like encourage me to do it. But it's a beloved for a reason. And I know that I would like it if I got through that middle area where I originally dropped it because of some of those reasons. I was busy with work when I was playing it, so I kind of dropped it because of that, and because it was asking me to repeat content I'd already played. That's a hard ask, and the reasons they're asking us to do it I know are important to the themes and the story that they're telling, which is why I'm willing to give it another chance. But at the time I first played it, I dropped it because I was busy and it was asking me to repeat content. So that one's a hard one, but I do want to give it another shot and get all the way through it. Okay. Let's see. Fenicky says, I thought Echo Shadows of Valentia was also one of your favorites. Oh, 100%. has one of the best art styles, has some of my favorite characters and storytelling. So yeah, definitely. So like, yeah, there's definitely a trio there that's like probably top 3. Where 1, 2, and 3 land, I don't know, but Echoes is definitely in my top 3 there, no doubt. Thank you, Fanakick, because yeah, I left that one out of that question, but it definitely is in the top 3 for me. Let's see, thoughts on the Nier games. P3 Reload comes out, it'd make us cry a lot. It will make us cry a lot. I cried during Persona 3 Portable at some moments that many other people probably cried too. But yeah, there were some moments in that game that literally made me cry in front of all of you, embarrassing myself. But also I wasn't going to cut it out because it is meaningful. And if it did make me cry, I want to share that with you because it meant that it was a powerful moment, you know? Okay. All right. Well, thank you for everybody who has been here for this live stream. But I think this is where we're going to end the Q&A Ask Me Anything live stream. 10,000 subs. Once again, I can't thank you guys enough. It's wild to me that I've gotten to 10,000 subs. I don't know if I ever would have believed it a couple years ago. So I really appreciate that all of you have made it possible for me to grow to this point, and the fact that because of all of you, I have never had a month where I have basically been going downhill on this channel. I have literally always been growing ever since Three Houses first started that trend. And it's because you guys keep coming back and watching this and supporting my channel, liking, commenting, being here in this chat during the live stream. All of that stuff is what allows the YouTube algorithm to continue to recommend my channel to new people who will find me through these different streams of content, right? And some of you come here for very specific things, and some of you come here for me as a content creator, and all of that is totally valid and still just as much appreciated as any other reason and way that you consume my content. If you only come here for watching Persona series, I love you for it. If you come here because you just like my style of commentary, I love you for it. And if you just come here to engage in my comments and call me a stupid shithead who doesn't know what he's talking about, I still love you for it anyway. And the people who are in this chat aren't those people. But, there probably are just a small handful of people who do something like that. And you know what? You're still engaging, and you're still clicking, and you're still making the channel grow some way, somehow. So I thank you all for being here and supporting the channel. And this is where I'm going to end it. So yeah, thank you for being here. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing. And there are so many channels or so many playlists on this channel that even if you think that you've gotten through content that you think you might enjoy, I guarantee if you look through that list, you'll probably find at least one other playthrough that you will probably have a good time with. So I encourage you to look through my playlist list and go and watch one of my less popular series and see if it might be something that you'll enjoy. But yeah, I'm gonna lose my voice, so I've been talking a lot. I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I appreciate you all, and thank you for the first 10,000 subs. I don't know when I'm gonna do the next live stream because I don't do them as often as other content. But once again, I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in whatever way you engage with the channel next. So hopefully I'll see you all in the comments more in the future. Thank you, and yeah, I'm out. Bye.